Welcome back to Exalted 3rd Edition Dragonblood's Crimes of Nature. Last time, our team got to know their neighbors a little bit better. The uh the God's Breath River was visited, as well as the ruling magnate of the province, the Steel Tearing Bureaucrat. Introductions were made. General assessments were made of character. Seemed like a pretty decent enough person. Uh, Seemed to be pretty amenable to Repose taking over the Trident River Valley, especially considering the previous owner. Um, Otherwise, the crew was kind of just intent on setting things up to handle themselves and then going out on a vacation for a little while, which was briefly interrupted when people played Mahjong a little too hardcore and caught the attention of demons from beyond the plane of the reality and then entered into high stakes bets with, metaphysical concepts. And then, played Mahjong even more ridiculously to make that bet strangely null and void in a half sort of twisted way, and then escalated that by, fulfilling the request, but not exactly the spirit of it, in a way that made everybody involved satisfied. Look, vacation.
It was Tuesday.
Vacation is a very nuanced word. Many things can happen. It contains multitudes.
I had a demon in my brain.
Yep.
You did. You sure did, buddy.
It's dead now.
Angler also went to go. Oh wait, no, that was 2 sessions ago, I believe. And other than that, Obsidian found out that there were god-blooded fish in the river, and I think that was the major plot updates. Repose did the architectural laydown for the goat path between down the cliff, up the cliff, and to put it on recording, we will be actually using the rules for the creation ruling mandate, which means that both Milan's bureaucratic agency and Repose's new dominion in the Trident River Valley are represented as actual stats on a sheet I can interact with in a not completely made up way, as the actual original writers of 3rd edition would have intended, because they were assholes.
Interesting times.
But yeah, from there, it was a pretty normal week, all things considered, and as close to normal as it can be for the princes of the earth. Mostly, just as mentioned last time, y'all, went about your business of establishing things, getting to know Steel Tearing Bureaucrat, getting to know the area, going around doing Yakuman things, fishing, setting up trade connections, all sorts of...
At some point, Obsidian does return to the village and starts up a fishing
Very good.
The bureaucrat, they were a little bit older than the rest of us?
They were...
for old man.
They were...
Quite a bit older, but still in vaguely the same power bracket.
Same power bracket, but older, because they've not been through as nearly as intense a life as you have.
Someone whose life hasn't been as extreme.
As such, they're stronger than us, because same power bracket, but have been there for longer.
On the high end of E3,
Yeah,
where
the high
we are
end of
still new
SE3.
to E3.
Also, for what it's worth, more generally powerful in the form of, more charms, likely.
More charms,
I'm willing to
And
bet
has
Angler
this
could probably
sizable
beat
resource
Rob.
base to work from.
Maybe, but
More...
they seem nice.
Yeah, more like... In terms of, can you, beat the shit out of them 6-0? Of course you can. In terms of personal power, yeah, no, they're still higher than you, but not by an insurmountable level.
Anyway.
But yeah.
We're all mid-tier management, but they're just a little bit higher on the scale.
Yes. They are approaching upper management.
I have an item of business to settle as we
Go ahead.
get things started. So around the closing of the week off, as work finished on laying out the rope for the path, Repose would have invited Steel to come out briefly and inspect the whole line. Just join along on that, as they have been a part of making it happen. And in particular, at around the midpoint here, they can be having a bit of a moment of enjoying the view. And Repose will take the time to note that, by his estimation, if someone left from the bottom and someone left from the top at around the same time, and they kept the same pace, they would meet at about this point. And you can stand here and appreciate that from here you can almost see the villages at the bottom. You can almost see the edge up at the top. With just a few posts and signals, you could easily conduct semaphore from the bottom to the top and back down. Or use signal fires at night.
Steel
And it is itself.
Steel is clearly quickly telling where you're going with this and is nodding along.
The area is reasonably flat. There's a nice bit of an inlet in the rock face where one can shelter overnight. Seems as natural a place as any to demark a boundary.
Of course.
We'll just kind of, by hand, take a swipe out over the rock and just leave a nice notch very visible. The upland people shall tend the line from here up, and the lowland people shall tend the line from here down.
An equitable arrangement. Yeah, it's just kind of... You can see on their face they're immediately thinking of the logistics of, like, looking back up on their side of the ridge of, like, okay, where would I put the signal fires? Where's the strongest foundation for those? Just immediately going into planning mode upon realizing where you've been going with this.
There will be much further small talking to do, as they both appreciate. And also the fact that there's some significance to it being the two relevant dragon-blooded out here, alone with nature, settling things between each other.
Yeah.
That it will probably be decades before any of this is built up enough that these two societies would even think of trying to dispute where this line has been drawn. And by then it will be something that was decided, that was carved in stone by dragons before any of the dispute participants were born.
Yeah.
So
before you were born, two Dragonblood said this is where the line is. Do you want to argue that? But yeah, no.
Right.
Steel very just kind of is like, yeah, makes perfect sense for it to be here. Makes perfect sense to make this very clear ahead of time. Just that's kind of the general gist of the message. Just, good thinking, well planned.
And just the trailer to leave along the end of that we're establishing the border here, and we'll definitely consider this boundary between each other's interests, and Repose is all about barriers and boundaries and privacy and so forth. You will very reluctantly get dragged into just stating aloud that you are welcome to come down here. You will voice that one of the fears that Bronze Man was able to prey on was that Steel would someday come down from their high perch and add these people to their collection.
Steel looks rather bemused by that very idea, but just the myriad paranoias of those who can never have enough power. I do generously and humbly accept your offer of being able to take up that visitation in your realm, and of course, I extend the same offer back to you as well.
Splendid.
So, otherwise, did anybody else? I know one person had a order of business of thoughts. Crumb, you had the idea of the thing you were doing, I believe, unless you didn't end up purchasing that quite yet.
I did, but I was waiting to more lead that in with something he'd probably learn to do rather than just merely go, I should do this weird thing that I never thought of.
True. I just didn't know if you wanted to lead into that yet, so yeah, no, okay.
No, we'll work on that.
So, otherwise, would anyone have particular itches at the end of the vacation of, like, plot hooks to go chase, letters to go send, things to check up on? Or is it in my realm of throwing a brick through your window again?
I would like to formalize one leadership thing to set in motion before the crew heads off on their way.
Mm-hmm.
Where, so having now built this line and having Repose has had time to settle out in his mind how he would like to get things done here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's internally at peace with, yeah, actually, in all practical terms, even if I don't say I am River Boss, I am kind of making myself River Boss. So how this is going to work is he is going to exert himself only as a spiritual authority. He is going to call together all of the local temples and have a meeting to lay down the law and formalize an alliance between them.
All right.
The temporal authorities in each of these towns is free to carry on doing whatever they'd like, with only the soft power hanging over them of, remain clean and upright. There's going to be an expected level of charitable donation that is going to undercut what the tax rates were under Bronzeman, but still going to be there of, you cannot deny that your fates are intertwined.
Yes.
This is your alternative to having the next asshole who rolls in here be Bronzeman 2.
Yeah, this is not extractive taxes so much as a collective, let's pay into a fund so we don't get murdered. Protection from the outside, not from somebody with a big axe at the top of the pile.
You will be paying in to the fund being managed by the people who don't want rewards in this life, but the next.
Yes.
We're going to be spending those taxes on things to boost our credibility in our various death plans. Not everyone has the same plan, but we can all agree that we invest. We put things forward to the future.
We're investing in the future, Poe says, drawing up plans for a pyramid.
Someday.
I will earn this.
Gonna make the big stack. And so anyway, I'm going to put forward using either int or manip, either is equally rated here, and war to initiate a boost wealth action.
Yeah, I'd call that manip because you're like manipulating the social fabric, but also give that a 2 dice stunt from all the logic that goes into it.
Alright, so with leadership action, stunts reduce difficulty instead of giving dice.
Yep.
And as we are dealing with, keeping the peace, setting out the battle lines that are going to fortify this place, this is in line with our policy. So that will be base pool of 7, 2 more for the... Yep, for the policy boost, and then difficulty 1. It has begun. So a month from now, I can do a month or so from now, I can come back, do another leadership role, and see about making progress.
Yep, so at the end of Descending Water, this action will be available again.
The planning phase has concluded.
Mm-hmm. Milan had something he wanted to do.
Go right ahead.
Milan wanted to send out some letters to get in contact with some of the people we've met up, just to keep them up to date. Like, word is spread of us winning the war and stuff, but getting information of, okay, here's what was going on, blood and all that. Mostly to Koi. Who else did we want to keep in contact with?
You could probably send one to Repose's temple.
Yeah.
Swamp?
Yeah.
Swamp, perhaps?
Yeah, Swamp's a good one. Also, Also, a letter back home to the ministry,
All right.
which is more just a
would you
checkup. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
Specifically because a letter going the usual ways back home would take a while. Would you
Yeah.
want that to be specifically a letter, or would you want that to be like a letter to Grey Falls to be ferried by sorcery?
A letter to Great Falls to be ferried by sorcery, just to the quarterly update report. Just
Okay.
like
Yeah. Okay. So it's it's your check-in. So.
it's a check-in to make sure everyone's all right.
Yeah. All right.
And as for like running, like actions the ministry's doing, they're on autopilot, auto fighting, protecting, and stuff. Just because I could make rolls, but they would have no bearing on
that. It is their dominion has nothing to do with the map you're on right now.
Yes.
The game, I'll just say, will eventually probably progress to a point where they will be territorially relevant. That's not the case right now.
Yeah, they are active, but that is not relevant.
They are just doing their job and doing it well.
Yeah, so I went with Koi. I wanted to bring up the coded letter we received.
Mm-hmm.
See if she had any idea of, does she know anyone who's good at decryption and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Would you ask about demons? Considering
Probably ask about demons.
All right.
Probably ask about. This is gonna be a part out of character, part in character question of.
Sure.
Okay, what demons do I have access to now? Because
First circle.
Yeah, I've tried looking up like what's all the first circles, and I've gotten some broken links.
So that's the thing about
first circle
can
do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay,
I can slide you the relevant PDFs.
There are many example ones and an explicit statement of if you can't find a demon that does what you want, make shit up because there is a nigh infinite teeming mass of first circle demons.
Okay, and that would probably be the response to that question from Koi is you figure it out.
Yeah, you might have to go digging in books to find an exact match, but there's probably something. Just her biggest piece of advice, I'll say, to skip ahead to this part of the reply would be, do not, and I mean do not, get a demon that is not suited for a job, because that's how things go bad.
Mm-hmm.
Do not summon a blood ape for, babysitting duties. Do not summon the demon that makes buildings if you have children around.
Coward. Now, here's the thing. Milan's very good at running on a tight budget, so making things work when they shouldn't.
Right.
There's an asterisk. There's a big red button next to that demon summoning. It's fine.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't ask about it. Moving along.
And yeah, just letters to people. Oh, yes. Letter to Fallen River Valley just to like ask for like, hey, how's it going? Like I'm trying to be friendly.
Are you less on fire yet?
Yeah. Well wishes and hope things are fine.
So general check-in and status update with Fallen River. General full information to Koi. General probably most, not all information to Swamp. And then a mandated punctual bureaucratic check-in for the Blessed Isle.
Ask if there's any new babies in the company. And Koi was going to be sent via the bird if we still have it, because I believe that's...
The carrier pigeon is no longer in your possession, but you can get, like... This is a large enough city where you can probably find someone who has pigeons that are trained enough to know go southwest until you find a city, and then it'll get taken from there.
I was trying to look for a secure way that, say, Doom doesn't intercept this.
Roll me with bureaucracy if you want to
Okey-dokey.
really, really Doom-proof this.
Well, the most doom-proof way would just be to zoop over there in person. Just make a day
would
trip
be
of it.
to just literally go knock on her door on the cloud, but
You're the one with the fast travel.
Yeah, but they don't have the direction sense.
no, they don't.
Does anyone want to spend part of their vacation on a road trip?
To Koi? Yes.
Let's go
mean-
to Koi.
That's like a day or like that's a day trip with the cloud at most.
Yeah,
Half day maybe even.
part of their vacation.
Yeah.
What if you summoned a demon to deliver your message?
I know. I'll make sure demons can't get my message by having a demon send my mail. It's perfect.
Oh, I don't want to get beat up by Repose again for doing something stupid.
It's a flawless plan, though. There's no logic here. That is impeccably. Just... I say there's no logic here as my mouth portrays the end of my joke.
I figure
you have learned the spell of solve first circle problem. Just use it.
I'm sure me and Angler can take a road trip.
Yeah. Would anyone else be interested in going to see Koi in person during vacation or nah?
Nah,
Propose is busy doing road stuff.
Yeah.
absolutely not.
I figured old man wouldn't. This time, this was a very self-evident one.
Gotta set up like a tiny toll booth shrine at the bottom of the rope, dedicated to anyone who has died falling off of this this cliff. Falling off
far as
of,
you-
getting stuck in, getting lost around.
Oh, I was
Usual.
for a brief moment. I thought you meant on your path, and I was like, well, that wouldn't be quite yet. But no, like over history, yeah. So yeah. But Obsidian,
Sorry,
would you-
just the thought of
The shrine with
already...
the 0 days since last accident sign.
The rope bridge has been set up for 5 minutes and already. All right, time to make the memorial.
welcome to the inaugural opening of the rope. Welcome to the inaugural opening of the Rope Bridge Memorial.
Unfortunately, I don't know what I want to do with Obsidian right now. So
It's entirely fair. I have
Well,
a
actually,
backup.
Old man would like to do something with obsidian.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's hear that.
it's pretty straightforward. I've been practicing something. I've been slowly improving my combat abilities in the past few months. And, I've been doing this on my own, with no partner, as is standard and proper. So I would like to see if you would like any advice on how to do the same.
Obsidian standing there with the manuals that he has been relearning all of his techniques from, of like
Kind of like,
oh wait, you mean somebody to okay. Just the initial thought of, would you like advice on how to learn alone? It's just
It's the way he's asking if you would like to practice, yes.
yeah.
old man cannot bring himself to bring it up in a normal question manner.
I want you to know that that was not a bit I personally was doing. That is actually literally how I initially parsed that, and then
No,
like
I had a moment where I was like, what the fuck is he? Oh, old man, right.
I'm seeing
Yes,
Shield's face with the all the equations going off over it. He's trying to figure out what he just said.
This fucking Galifianakis just with all the calculus over his head and the hangover.
So yeah, actually, once he figured out what the fuck he was asking, Obsidian would be further confused that, wait, is old man asking me A, for help, B, to do something with me? And then the equation, like, just further confusion.
Intensify.
It's specifically because he's bringing it up to Obsidian, because the thing I just bought brought my parry up to 7, and Obsidian is blocking expert, therefore mutual block experience is the idea. This is also why he said if you would like some advice on how to improve it by yourself, again, because it's really hard to train that when you don't have anything to hit you.
When somebody's not hitting you,
Just
there's only
parry,
so much
counter each other back and forth over and over again.
There's only so much you can do with a tree hitting you with the wind.
Yeah.
Sorry, now my brain is grasping for an actual reaction to this.
I feel like your real reaction was Obsidian's reaction. What?
Yes,
Huh?
but then the follow up of like
Okay.
actually understanding, and then
Yeah.
if you are asking for a sparring partner, I will oblige.
I'm asking for no such thing. I'm asking for a combatant. As in we actually go at each other. That's the idea.
Oh.
Yes. We're both tough.
We're both. We
I had
lived.
most of my blood burnt out of me, and you had most of your lungs destroyed.
You bring up a good point. We do seem to be the sturdiest of the crew.
We seem to be the sturdiest of the crew. 7-foot tall dragon blood over here, looking down at short old man on stilts.
Yep. With weird skin.
Yes.
For what? Even more so, we are the two party members that have the most armor.
You are the tankiest party members, somehow. Unless Doom is involved, in which case Repose laps both of you.
Let's see if we get up, crack his neck, and just... I have been sitting around a lot these past few days. Maybe something to get the blood flowing is what I need.
Alright. So, I feel like we can resolve that as a mini combat scene on the side during Koi's thing, just abstracted in the numbers.
It's going to be basically just the two of us attacking and blocking each other for like an entire real-time day.
Okay, so not an actual sparring fight.
Well, no, it's just because I don't think either of us can succeed in hitting each other.
Honestly, I'm
with
thinking
our
about
charms.
if Obsidian uses excellencies, yes, he can. Old Man, I don't think is ever going to hit Obsidian.
You'd have to roll... What's my natural parry? I think it's 6. And then with excellencies, I can bump that up to 8. So you'd have to get 8 successes on any one attack to hit it.
The funny thing is that my natural parry is 7, but I can't boost it. So
Yep.
you have a lower base but a higher ceiling, whereas
Yep.
I've got the average of the two.
So there would actually be a lot of back and forth in this sparring session, depending on how much of a shit Obsidian is giving.
Does my sword actually give me parry?
Is it a medium
no,
weapon?
you have a chopping sword, so it doesn't have the
Okay.
balance quality.
Yeah, because in that scenario, Obsidian would not be using. All right, no, Obsidian would use the sword, sparring with Old Man. He'd use it as a basher, just like if he gets a hit. Oh no, he bruises Old Man a bit, maybe.
Well, you have seen Old Man tank a death ray. Hitting him with the flat of a sword is probably just going to tickle him.
Oh no, you've dented old man.
But yeah, just back and forth over the course of the day.
Imagine two people clanging back and forth forever.
Yeah, this is just everybody. This is just a fucking wrestling game.
Do I use this as an excuse to take another level of box body?
If you want to, go for it.
You can go right ahead.
This is how I'm justifying increasing my dexterity, actually. I'm going to be doing this a lot in the next few... over the vacation, is the idea.
Sadly, I've peaked in dexterity.
Yeah, this is probably going to attract a small crowd if you're doing this anywhere public, as you're both basically just in a wrestling game. You're both constantly hitting the reversal button on each other.
So what I imagine it is it's just outside of town. It's where Obsidian has been fishing. Just old man comes to him one morning.
Yeah.
And you still leave the fishing pole out there, and both of us recognize
No,
it's
you-
time to stop when the fishing pole starts to jiggle.
Yeah, you do it while fishing. You
But,
integrate
like-
the pole into the parrying.
But like the crowd gathers as just, hey, what's that fucking noise? Does anybody
Clang.
else fucking hear that?
Oh, like
Clang,
ringing
clang.
noise.
By the end of the day, there's a small crowd.
Just watching this guy fishing while also just kind of offhandedly parrying this old man's incredibly weird, stretchy hands, occasionally latching out with a sword.
There is a time where old man grabs the fishing pole as Obsidian was not paying attention. Just noodle arms over to it.
And then reels in the fish himself and eats it in one bite.
No.
No, right, old man wouldn't eat the fish.
Yes.
Still would do some sort of power move with it.
He would throw it back. He
Yeah.
would catch
Old man
it
would
and
throw
then
it
back.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the rest of the crew, Repose would be busy, Yang would be busy.
I do have something I wanted to ask Repose while we're, about
Yeah,
to go
well-
on our day trip.
Yeah, sure.
Repose, I've seen you make many things, great and small, and I wonder if you'd make something for me to give as a gift to our host, associate, whatever you would like to call them.
There is already a rock in his hand, and the fingers of the other hand are just like poised, waiting to carve into it. Just.
I would like to make a tea set for them, if possible. Doesn't have to be too elaborate, but I think that the least we could do is to give them something that we have made ourselves, or perhaps you have made, and just to show our appreciation.
And then we are commandeering a local kiln.
Fine
Oh,
by
good.
me.
Two artists at once went and drew that scene. Excellent. All right, so yeah, no, you can just go ahead and commandeer a kill in your Dragon Bloods. Is there a longer term permit for Rum Rusher? I don't remember how you do that.
Add regulars or regulars add?
Regulars Rum Rusher. There we go. Yeah, you shouldn't have to ask for permission anymore.
Anyway.
Dang. That's bad luck.
Hmm.
Only 3 successes off of all that.
Hey, it happens.
Wait, I have a thing for this one. So while you're making the set, about halfway through, Angler, who's been helping out in every way he possibly can, suddenly has to stop and start sneezing again and again and again. He has to excuse himself to go outside, and it takes him several minutes for him to finally subside from sneezing. And he comes back, eyes blotchy, nose just running, and goes, I have no idea what's happening, but I can't stop this. What did you put in that kiln?
Obsidian, roll me wits occult.
Wait, what?
Dude, it's
Sorry,
in
I
the
missed-
part of this.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I was gonna say, I missed the first part of this. Why am I rolling?
No, sorry.
Would
I
you like to
fucked
roll
up.
anyway? I'm curious what you'd get.
Me, wits occult. It's a 6-die roll for me.
All right.
It's unnecessary, but like it's not the worst roll for me.
Alright, that's good though.
There's some thinking.
This seems like hypersensitivity of the senses, like an accidental awakening of a charm. Like somehow he has channeled his essence in a way that has turned his senses way the hell up.
Okay, interesting, but Alright, I think when the product comes out only adequate, this is just not going to be good enough, and Repose will just crush it back into powder and be grumbling, and...
Mhm.
Well, I'll be back because I'm going on a trip with Milan, and maybe we can try again. Perhaps I can get some materials down there that might help some way. Or we could just do it right now. Oh, that's old man, never mind.
Well, it's also because we have commandeered appropriate tools. This is happening at many times normal speed. So, like, this is firing of pottery that is happening in, like, minutes instead of hours.
5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Never mind then.
Obsidian
crunch
would,
all of that
Repose would probably
back
just
into
keep
dust.
going until it gets a good result. I'm not gonna make you roll until you get high numbers. You just keep doing it.
Just multiple iterations of
Mm-hmm.
make the thing, crush the thing, mix it back into fresh clay, make the thing again.
More and more slightly visible frustration each time.
With the negative feedback loop of the more that he has worked with this, the more closely he's looking at it, and so it is actually improving with each iteration, but he is noticing smaller and smaller problems.
God, the fucking problems with art loop, yeah.
There. Better.
There we go. Yeah, that'll do. You're still micro-examining every single tiny flaw, but it'll do. Anybody else is gonna say this is great. You still see all the problems.
On one of the loops, it looks good enough that Angler is able to snatch it away from Repose before he smashes it again.
I was actually going to do that.
Stop it!
Stop it! Stop it right now. Go fix your rope bridge. I will take this and it will be fine.
Oh, the grain is wrong.
This is a first gift. The next gift can be better,
Could be
but you
more
need to
smooth.
leave them wanting more.
It's the wrong shade of blue.
Repose can feel Mo gently bat at the back of his head from the basket on his back. Just stop it. Boom, stop it. Boom, stop it.
And off you go.
And the instant that Repose is distracted by the cat, gone.
Yep.
There's just a little wave of steam and like superheated air as he goes through past the kiln.
Mm-hmm.
You do the Looney Tunes like disappear, and you leave an outline of yourself, but it's the steam.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, not Repose. Angler and Milan would go off on the cloud, or probably get to the Flying River Province and Koi's Tower by the afternoon, 1 o'clock or so. It's still a busy day. At this point, the village has seen the crew come in often enough on the storm cloud that they just know, okay, there's other sorcerers in the area that have been making regular visits. There's there's just like, they're there. You plop down, head for the tower. By the time you actually hit the tower, the door is already opened, and you hear Koi from inside, "Come on in."
Villagers are going, the person's here to buy more wood.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, right?
Is that Wood Boss?
Wood Boss.
Which one's Wood Boss? They both have mustache.
They have very different, but also equally incredibly handsome mustache.
Let's be honest, mine is not nearly as handsome.
Fair, yeah.
It's perpetually damp.
Oh, God. Why'd you have to put it that way?
Yes. Thank you for letting us into your home.
No problem at all. Koi says as she's using her cane to walk across the first floor. There's already a pot of tea set on. Seems that she had seen you coming from the horizon long enough to put it on the fire, but not quite enough for it to hit a boil yet, because, quite fast. She's just kind of shuffling around, rearranging a couple of things. Been a little while since I talked to you. Heard a couple of things over the air, as it were. Heard you've been making a pretty big name for yourself. Kind of sits down in her plush chair and gestures for you to take a seat as well.
As I sit down, I take a look around to see if there's any birds there.
Her carrier pigeons are what you see, but no birds of the sort that you're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we've been doing what we can to see to things around the province. Not province, the area.
It's an awfully mild way of saying that y'all got involved in killing an abyssal elemental. That kind of modesty is the sort of thing that would hold you back in the Empire, but it's not something that I would exactly criticize. She just kind of has a crooked smile on her face as she's kind of...
Milan goes to sip some tea, but the tea's not ready yet, so it's just an empty cup.
She just kind of waves a hand dismissively for a moment. Hang on a moment. Looks up behind her, snaps a finger, points at one of the birds that flies over to the pot as it is beginning to reach the right temperature, lifts the kettle over, and then pours it over the tea leaves as she closes the lid over it. The bird puts the pot back, she leans back.
So is she Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella like 50 years later?
This is less Disney's Princess Aura and more I am a wizard and I am commanding my familiars.
Details.
Yeah, but...
Yes, indeed, modesty does not serve me here. Yes, we had learned that the emperor of the former Empire of the Bronze Axe had made an allegiance with our foes.
Wish I could say that would surprise me. Unfortunately, it does not. What does surprise me is that he would jump so early, though I suspect you have something to do with that as well, considering all the rumblings I'm hearing out of the Jade Orchid.
We left some juicy bait. A damp mist gift to him, so to speak.
I see. That explains all of the turmoil in the elemental courts I've been hearing. Ordinarily,
What sort of turmoil?
Well, when a water elemental that does not have anything to do with warfare or anything of the sort takes a particularly more militant stance than usual in defending one of his holy days, there are some questions that get asked as to what actually led to that, and then that leads to further questions about what the hell a blood elemental was doing on this side of creation, and so on and so forth. And off the Immaculates go, their heads in the sky. Don't get in their way.
Yeah. Well, when you ask the right question nicely, people are willing to oblige.
I can't tell if you're really just better than you're giving yourself credit for, or you're really good at playing false modesty.
Bit of both.
Mulan has bit of I wouldn't say confidence issues, but overly modest.
That's basically her read on you. Is I can't tell if you're genuinely this averse to taking credit, or if you're playing me. And looking back and forth, Angler can see it's both of you are both sides of this.
Angler is just grinning throughout this entire conversation.
The two genres of proper imperial gentlemen.
The incredibly deferential one that will never take credit, and the one who takes that one as a mask to fuck with you. She just shakes her head. Now, I don't think you would be coming here in person just to give me a status update on what I already know. So
No.
clearly you have some sort of questions or perhaps some sort of input on me.
At this point, I'm going to withdraw the letter. Shortly after our campaign had finished, we received a communique from someone identifying themselves as our mutual friend.
She raises an eyebrow. And do you have any idea who this friend might be?
No, we have some inklings who they could be.
Doesn't seem like any friend of mine if they're so averse to figuring out who they are.
No. Here, have a look at this letter yourself.
She reaches over and takes it.
When the letter comes out, Angler starts to sneeze again.
She looks up.
Been doing
Need
that
some
all
powder?
afternoon.
I don't know what's going on right now. I can't think of the last time I was even sick.
Well, normally we don't get sick.
That's
gives
the
you
point.
She gives you another look after she says that, like, a brief moment of, like, holy shit, did you catch something? And it's like she's eyeballing you, and... Well, she's doing 2 rolls right now. First is for that. No, you ain't sick. Here, do me a favor. She reaches into a back pocket and pulls out a small, little, roughly oval capsule. Pull out the sides and give it a smell. She hands it over to you.
Okay, I do so.
Oh my god, it burns! It burns! It's smelling salts, and your smell is dialed up to 10. It is literally like getting punched in the face.
I lean back as far as I can, and going through the first thing, I just activate a little bit of peripheral anima in order to start flushing out my system.
Yeah, your eyes and
Swearing
nose
madly.
your eyes and nose just turn into faucets as you begin to swear in like 5 different languages, and Koi starts laughing very hard.
What did
Well, that
give
explains
him?
that. That's what
I
happened.
stop and start swearing at her in old realm. What did you just do to me? I don't think I deserved that one.
That's just ammonia. Hand it back over.
Yeah, fine, take it.
Well, the good news is you're not sick. Clicks it back together. Bad news is I think you turned on something that you don't know how to turn off yet.
Wait a minute. Give me that scroll.
No, 1 second. She gonna... Her brow just furrows in confusion. Nah. Hands it to you, clearly having gotten nothing from it, and shrugging.
Do I recognize what she did?
You don't know if she used a charm or anything. She was just like literally looking at it and just thinking or examining it. There was
Okay.
no visible charm usage.
All right. Angler's going to, after taking a moment or two to let his nose clear out, take a very small sniff of the paper, and if it doesn't immediately react, take a deeper one and just kind of think. In the process of doing so, he's going to use the charm Bloodhound's Nose Technique.
All right. You can go ahead and have a 2-die stunt on that from the lead up.
I just want to make sure I've got the right roll for this. Bloodhound. That is not how you spell Bloodhound. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it says Bloodhound.
Yeah, I know. I'm really bad at spelling, okay? Just make sure I got that.
I mean, Bloodhound still basically means bloodhound. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just a
Bloodhound?
die.
Dialect. I need a dialect coach. Okay. Bloodhound. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to track the character by smell, so it'd be an investigation wits?
Yeah.
Okay. You said 2 die for that. All right.
It would be perception, wouldn't it?
Perception? Well, perception is a skill. This is investigate. I mean,
Right,
either
well,
way.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this would, I would say, be Wit's perception to try to get the scent to begin with.
Okay. 7S. I'm adding in excellencies onto this because why not? Wow, that's a terrible roll.
You were very close to a very bad result.
Yeah,
Like,
so
I mean,
that's 4
very bad.
successes.
That is 4 successes.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I was really hoping to roll higher than that.
So you take a sniff, and the first thing you notice is that even with your supernaturally enhanced senses that just got karate chopped by ammonia salts, and like the utter ability to smell and like every tiny little micro smell you never noticed, and you take a sniff of the paper and hang on, there's nothing here. Sniff it again. There's paper smell, but there's paper smell that has been deliberately muted. There was a deodorizing agent used on this thing. Not only that, but as you take one last sniff, like a very deep attempt to just get anything out of it, any smell whatsoever beyond the muted scent of ink and paper, the closest thing you can put a finger on it, and you can't really specifically identify it. It smells kind of like a poison. And not like, oh, this is poisoned and I'm being poisoned handling this, but like something in it reminds you of like an organic poison or some sort of venom or something. Like it kind of has the same scent as the centipede style did, if that makes any sense. Not necessarily saying that they were a centipede style practitioner, but something about this essentially, like in terms of its essence, is poisonous.
Okay.
So while this is going on, I'm explaining what we know of. So we believe what information we got on this person is they're either one of the living imitating the writings of a dead, or one of the dead trying to imitate the living.
Koi has a very confused and unnerved look on her face at that. Alright, let's think about that then. If it's one of the dead trying to pretend to be one of the living, then I could think of any number of reasons for that, and none of them are good. If it's one of the living trying to pretend to be dead, then that's confusing.
Bizarre, right?
I never had much truck with ghosts, and it was never particularly something I focused on. Never was much of a problem until a couple of years ago. They kept them themselves.
I do believe this is more my brother's area of expertise.
What's he said about this thing?
It sets off all of the red flags he's familiar with, but he can't pinpoint what it is.
Well, ain't that comforting. She's like leaning forward now, like putting her full weight as she's resting on on her walking stick. Kind of steepled her fingers over it, on her chin on top of it, resting in deep thought. What'd you get? She says to Angler as he's sniffing the paper.
Poison designed to cover. It's not potent, but it's there to used as a way to make it so it just is just paper. Someone took way too many lengths. Excuse me. Someone took far too many lengths to make this untraceable, unless you really know where to look.
Paranoia. Somebody absolutely does not want to be found by anyone under any circumstances. Suppose that in its own way narrows it down. Somebody close enough to him that does not want to be found by anyone anywhere, unless he, or she, or they, or whatever they are, deems it that it is not time or necessary.
I would like to make a wits occult check, or what would be the check for me thinking like, okay, is there anyone in any of the lectures Repose has talked about, or if I've picked up knowledge of any of the what's the word? Not undead, death lords, that their circle, who are particularly paranoid, or if that's just a general trait of them.
You can roll. It's going to be a very high difficulty because this is not one of your background expertises. This would be basically all you know about the Death Lords would have come from Repose and maybe a mention or two in the heptagram.
Yeah, this is the offshot of.
This is going to be a long shot. If you want something out of this, you should throw an excellency if you've got one.
Good point. Scroll through my list because my excellencies are not ordered. Nope.
It's not a botch, but as far as you're aware, they're all just fucking paranoid. And the most you would have is like this level of meticulous ass covering paranoid trace obliteration. I mean, it could be one of them. You'd have no evidence that it's not, because there's no evidence of what the fuck or who the fuck this is. It could very well be one of the Death Lords trying to screw with this plan, or it could be something else completely unrelated. You have no idea.
Yep, that was my thought. That was my out-of-character thought, trying to, like, reason, okay, why would Milan suspect this? And nope, the answer is he got nothing.
No, like, the best you would have is that, it could be, but it could be fucking anybody.
Dracula?
Like, you would literally grasp for any options and be like, I don't know, Mask of Winters, maybe? Like, because, like, that's, like, the one public Death Lord.
Yeah, me, Bradway, my suspicion is, I wonder if a Death Lord is trying to pull a move with us.
I mean, you do concretely know the names of two of them that are involved with Tyrant. The Mask of Winters is his nominal regent, and Weaver on the Loom of Flesh is the one that he is doing side deals with on the side that is the ancestral enemy of Repose's sect.
Yep.
The rest of them, in and out of character, you just did. I don't know,
meaning it has to be the Silver Prince. Skullstone did this.
Buddy shot a Dark Waters on the other end of the fucking planet. Here to fuck with you personally for no reason.
It was me all along.
But yeah, it's Koi is kind of shaking her head. No one is this paranoid. No one covers their tracks this much unless they have a lot to hide. Or they have a lot to hide from.
It's too stupid.
What are you hiding from? What are you so afraid of?
Just ideas from the idea void here to just suddenly have come to mind. Hey, what material are these two notes written on anyway? Is it plant
Parchment.
paper or is it one or the other?
It's just parchment. Living paper parchment. This is not Gravegood's letter. This was a question that was never brought up, and I was going to answer if you'd ever did, but no.
Regular, formerly living matter.
Trying to remember here. It's been a while since we've talked to Swamp.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since you've talked to Swamp.
Does Koi know about the people in the swamp?
They
Or
have
rather,
a...
let me rephrase that. Do we know that she knows about the people in the swamp?
Yes, I don't remember if I stated that she knows they're a Silsi. But she knows that they're there, and they basically have a detente of like, you live down there and I live up here. I don't mess with you, you don't mess with me.
Okay.
I'm up here and you're down there, and that's how it's going to stay.
I'm up here and you're down here and they're down there and we're up here, and what I want to know is where's the sheriff?
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we meet.
Well, in that case, Angler is going to sit there for a moment and think. I think I need to go talk to the people in the swamp because they might know something about what was used to mask this. What with them being in a swamp surrounded by various poisons and such on a daily basis.
It's not a bad idea. You might know some little something or two about skullduggery too.
If all else fails, I could probably talk to Yang about it, but
She just kind of exhales a little bit out of her nose at that one. What, you hadn't already shown him the letter?
we've shown the letter, but we didn't know about the poisons. And if Yang's the person I know I would trust the most with poisons that wouldn't try to kill me immediately afterwards, so.
Gang has seen the letter. No one asked Gang to think about the letter.
Actually, I have an idea about what Yakuman's up to specifically.
Go right
Oh
ahead.
boy.
Is there a learning institution in the province we are currently in?
Yes, this would actually
A
be one of the few-
Yakuman side quest has led him to attending a lecture about something. The DM gets to choose.
Yeah, this would be one of the only... Thinking about it. Yeah, this would be the only university in the region would be in the God's Breath River. So you would be there probably on... let me just... Let's call it calligraphy. Let's call it like calligraphy and composition of poetry.
Ah.
Calligraphy and you.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
Yakuman...
I was probably just walking around the streets and someone handed me a brochure for this local university and was like, this would be a good way to get my linguistics up. Also, I can make calling cards with this, sort of poetry knowledge. So I enroll in a class. Just as Yakuman. Yakuman just enrolls in college.
So you come in, about 10 minutes after the lecture has started. The lecturer gives you a kind of look at how well you are dressed. Remembers that there are dragon-blooded
I am in full costume, but I totally have a couple of notebooks and pencils, and I am ready to learn and very excited for my first day of school.
There are a lot of men and women who turn around, look at you, and just go, what? And, to borrow a phrase from the inimitable Terry Pratchett, the somebody else's problem field kicks in, where they all just go, okay. And they just go back to their work, and they're like, we're not going to question this. Someone else can handle this.
I sit down somewhere nice by the window where I get some good sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And then, make pleasantries that whoever isn't fortunate enough to sit next to this.
She's kind of confused, but is going along with it. Go, actually, and do... She does not recognize you.
Good. This will be funnier.
Yeah, no one in this room no understands what a Yakuman is yet.
Good.
So they just think that you are some very, very strangely dressed visiting dragon blood.
I mean, yeah.
That's objectively true.
Yeah, they're
That's
not wrong.
objectively true. They just don't know the context yet. So yeah, they just kind of accept this because they don't know that this is a vigilante coming in for a poetry lesson. They just think that this is an eccentric coming in for a poetry lesson.
Also objectively true.
Yes. So yeah, you just sit down, and the lesson is currently about the general styles of calligraphy. Right now, they're focusing on high realm calligraphy, and the versions of it that go back and forth between a kind of mostly literary language called Dragonspeak, which is more or less high realm, but designed entirely to be fancy and for poems and for other written works. and how to incorporate stylistic ways of using Dragon Speak into High Realm without actually making it legible. As you're working through it, there are actually really quite beautiful examples on the wall of short poems or other, statements.
Mm-hmm.
But let's think.
Okay, now during the lecture, let's say there's a pause for are there any questions for any other specific periods of this poetry we're having, or any other uses for it? And I raise my hand very, orderly, and he's just like a student would.
Mm-hmm. And it calls on you, just kind of on reflex. Realizes I'm calling on the weirdo, but go ahead.
Do you, Sensei? Do you know any instances of? I'm gonna ask if he knows any street justice poetry, but in a really formal, academic way.
Oh, and okay, so you would probably be asking for vendetta, poems about vendettas and vengeance, and this is the question immediately raises the but at the same time, oh man, I actually really love this as an academic topic.
Can we talk about the romanticism of vendettas, and how people would declare that in the olden times? That's always been an exciting field of mine. I'd love to learn more, teacher.
There's an actual flash across the teacher's face of I am going to be contributing to a bad decision, but I am this poor teacher realizes what is about to happen, but man, I really love this topic as an academic sphere. Oh, the hell with it.
The presenter reflexively says, "We can speak more after class. Come see me in my office."
No, they're just you know what? Because the students all look interested in the yeah, you've activated the fucking special interest mode of this professor, so they just immediately go into it. So they just kind of go off and describe the usual style. It's a very quick, they don't have the entire curriculum around this.
Yeah, we go off on one of those really fun tangents.
It's one of those tangents that a professor goes on and looks at the clock and goes, "Wait, shit."
Right. Lessons.
But yeah, it goes over the basic structure of it, the basic, stylistic points to hit, the usual turns of phrase that are used, the usual cadence, and as someone else in chat says, are you for real? This is 2/3 of the realm's poetry. Of course, I have everything to tell you about this.
Oh god, do you have a week?
Yeah. But it just goes into a long kind of explanation of how to do it in High Realm, some examples of Low Realm imitations, other languages. Goes into one particularly famous one from a couple decades ago, back when Venif was elevated to a great house. House Pelops had one of its higher dignitaries send a vendetta letter to Venif personally.
Wait, question. Does Yang think, when they just say Venif, does Yang think it's our
Milan.
Venif?
My brain goes immediately whoa, Venif's cool, and then I remember all right.
Right. Venif, no, Venif's
that's
not
family
cool.
name.
Venif the grandma.
I didn't know Venif was that old. Oh, wait.
Right. No, we're the same age.
But yeah, no, it's one of the dignitaries from House Pelops, infuriated by the loss of the merchant fleet, sent a vendetta letter in immaculate calligraphy over to Venif, and Venif delegated to her husband, who sent basically back a very short, very informal limerick in Low Realm that amounted to no takebacks.
Grandpa's good. Grandpa's really good.
Yeah, she didn't even give him the dignity of a response from her herself. This is, oh yeah, I'll have my husband write the response to this. And the husband responded with just ha ha ha.
My wife's cooler than yours.
Pretty much. My wife is cooler than your husband. But yeah, that is, the professor even has a couple of old copies of particularly famous old kind of saga kind of poetry and verse that they're just willing to give to you because they have a couple of extra copies. And you're a dragon blood, so why not ingratiate yourself to the new powerful person in the region?
Excellent, thank you. Fantastic.
I would like to establish something. Grandma
Right
has
ahead.
that poem framed and mounted in her one of her reading rooms, as
Mhm.
with right next to a copy of the response.
Yep, perfect. Accepted.
That entire thing pretty much breaks down to your grandmother's husband did the most Sislak, say some gangsters trying to diss one of your fly girls, you give them one of these moments.
Yep.
I love history, don't you?
Nature's beautiful.
You may actually roll me wits linguistics, Sana.
I'm planning to buy up to linguistics 2, so
You can roll it with the one you are buying up to.
okay. Okay, so now I'm up to 5d10.
All right, so you come to two conclusions. One, this might actually be a good source if you run out of options to pump for information on the structure of that poem you found, so long as you're careful to not reveal what is actually going on, because that professor seemed to know pretty well about historical specific uses of specific kinds of poetry. It might be a good source for that if you run out of options. Number two, you just get this feeling as you are thinking about it, and as you're going over these old lists of ways of really floridly insulting people, and you're just starting to think, what if I apply goose style mentality to this? What if boxing on paper?
Can you box with words?
What if I just
Oh,
make
you
people
can.
real mad, but with words? What if I
That's
deliberately
like goose
break the
style.
rules of poetry to make poetry nerds mad?
So actually, my immediate response to this is be like, oh wait, this dude knows a lot about shit. So I'm gonna actually adopt a cover real quick of being like, I am a dragon blood who likes to do unauthorized cultural preservation once in a while. And I found this incredibly old poem, and then I actually can't read it, and I can't really show it just around, but I do have just the blanks of what I think the meter is, and what sort of ballpark would I be in with this?
Okay. Roll me. What would that even be to get that across? Something linguistics.
You see, it's very old, so I can't just bring it out into the open. Often it might damage the oldness of it. But
Also,
I
maybe
can
a little
describe
bit.
it for you.
It
Extremely
might be,
fragile. Maybe extremely heretical.
Who knows how heretical it is? It's just safer if we don't give you the context, but the shadow of the context.
I would go with manipulation linguistics on this, and I will tell you that it is going to be a modestly high difficulty to get a good result.
Okay, so manipulation. I think it's actually pretty good for me. Oh, I have a 4. Shit. Okay, so
I was going to say, your manipulation has to be sky high.
Yeah, you're good at that.
I'm gonna give it a willpower with this. Ah, damn it, that sucks.
Okay, so you describe the meter, and you mostly get what you got from initially. It's the structure of, okay, that sounds like a historical like a historical legacy kind of thing, then an ode, then a call to action. But specifically, that structure in a row, that mixture, is strange. That is not something that someone with a lot of classical literary training would do unless they were making a very specific point to someone. So it is either someone who is self-taught or someone who is making an extremely deliberate statement by code switching in the middle of a poem.
Code switching?
Literally completely changing exactly the entire meaning of what you're saying or how you're communicating. Like, it is such an abrupt change in the poetry that it feels like if that is a deliberate thing by someone who has a lot of knowledge of poetry, there's a message in that. And if it is not, then it is probably someone self-taught who doesn't realize that's a rule you don't break, at least in the classical literature.
Also, I just kind of pumping for what is, after class is done. I'm not going to interrupt the class, but after that, we're just going to like pump him for his weird special interests, just because it's, I'm curious.
Oh,
That's probably nothing to be on camera for. Yeah, we're just chatting.
You would spend like 3 or 4 hours going over the greatest shitposts of, literary history in terms of like insults and like both the incredibly elaborate, beautiful, perfectly constructed insults designed to kill by a mere glance, and also the ones like, Vanif's husband, where it's just a shitpost. Like, the old story about, oh, you said the 8 winds couldn't move you and a fart brought you across the lake. That kind of story. But,
Fuck him up, Socrates.
At some point, we get like, crepes, and we're just walking along the street, and any one of my brothers could interrupt me at this point.
Yeah.
So, anyways, at that point, I just
back in the tower,
got my claws into it, and I just tore the demon apart, and that's how I got it out of my brain.
Koi is looking at you with a mixture of impressed, concerned, and proud.
Coming in media res, telling the Mahjong story.
I can't believe you got that from playing Mahjong.
I'm more surprised that you're not in Malpheus after that. You are aware of what that... No, you're not. You can't be. You're not afraid enough.
That was a second circle demon. I know that.
Right, so you haven't internalized fully what that means yet. Okay. She kind of taps her staff, although Sigareth is, frankly, one of the ones that is the least disruptive, so long as you don't take the bargain, but kind of waves a hand dismissively. Beyond the point. What is impressive is that you managed to not only outplay Sigareth in a fair game without cheating, which, frankly, does not happen without some sort of intervention, or luck, or skill.
Of which Vanith has none.
You see those bureaucrat rolls.
Yeah. But
I'm going to chalk this up to luck.
Luck when demons are involved is a funny thing. But she kind of leans back. So, you took this message, you delivered it in a way that is not necessarily the way Sigareth wanted, but was enough to get it across in a way that did not put you on the hook. And now you're fairly certain that you have internalized the knowledge of how to bind demons?
It's like I disassembled the demon and I saw its components. Like if you were to take apart a wheel, the spoke,
she's
the
already
axle.
nodding. She's already nodding, like understanding completely.
I can just see those pieces in my head and how they all fit together, but also how they can be changed and reassembled. Like if you were to take a wheel and just rotate it, move some parts around, and you would have a table. You can change the purpose if you change the components.
It's a particularly heptagrammatic view of demons, I'll give you that. I will warn you, though, that demons are not something you simply assemble out of thin air. Those are already extant entities in Malpheus. Those are creatures that already live in hell. You are simply calling up the closest thing that your mind's eye is imagining that it can find. You are not creating a custom servitor, you are putting out a request that does its best to be filled.
Fascinating. So, it's not so much I'm recreating something, but I'm putting components in an order that calls upon a specific thing.
You're putting out a request. You're assembling a wanted ad, as it were. She drums her fingers on her walking stick.
Out of character comment, I'm dialing a phone number. Dial these
Yes.
numbers.
That is basically what it is with demon summoning. Right, so you went to the heptagram, you got the brief on demons. Demonology works. Demonology is not as dangerous as the peasantry will tell you. Demonology is more dangerous than most demonologists will admit. After many, many years of experience, still do not trust myself completely with having them perfectly managed, as that is a fool's game and that is how you get unfortunate results, let us say. There's a couple of things that I would impress upon you if you are going to be following down the path of a demonologist. First thing to remember is no matter how much they may resemble it in certain aspects, and how much they may be distant from it in certain aspects, demons are not human. Do not be fooled by anything that looks like a human train of thought. It may be close, it may be approximate, it may be borrowed, but they are not predictable in the same way a human being is. They will not respond to things in the ways you expect at the worst possible times, and you must learn through long trial and error, experience, and study how a demon will act, bound or unbound. It is something not to be taken lightly.
I shall treat this with caution.
Second thing, I would tell you, do not summon any demon you are not absolutely certain of the capabilities of, that you are not absolutely certain of the nature of, and that you are not certain of its suitability for the job that you are going to give it. In short, don't just put out a random call for whatever works. That never ends well. Trust me.
Okay. Have a tool in mind and use the tool for its purpose.
Which leads neatly into the third one. As soon as your tool has served its purpose, get rid of it. Do not find more problems to apply that tool to. Do not think that every problem has suddenly become a nail once you have a hammer in your hands. You send it back, and then the moment you need a demon again, you start from fresh. It is possible to have a long-term relationship, as it were, with a specific individual demon. This goes badly about as often as it goes well, and when it goes badly, it goes far worse than when it goes well.
Awkward question. What's the preferred method for dismissing a demon? Do I just snap the neck?
Well, that is a quick way of doing it. She actually kind of looks at you. Oh, good lord, they didn't even teach you the unsummoning ritual. They really did have it out for you in the heptagram.
I know how to mop floors.
Come up with me to the second floor. She stands up from her chair with audible cracks in her spine and hobbles up the staircase, gesturing for you to follow her.
Yeah, I'm following.
Angler will not.
You're going to learn.
As you go up to the second floor, you immediately see why this is... She has a very, public-friendly facing kind of eccentric wizard first floor. The nice parlor, the chairs, the eccentric equipment and tea and things like that, the bird perches. This floor is very obviously, I do work here.
I've been in rooms like this before.
This is a mess. You personally would probably take 2 or 3 days to figure out what the hell everything in here is, let alone the categorization system. She clearly has her own and is not interested in telling anyone else. You see just reagents everywhere. You see a large iron cage off to the side of the room, a circle carved into the floor with a bunch of chalk off to the side and a set of candles for obviously setting up different kinds of circles on a moment's notice. And there is so much wear on the inside of the circle, it is clear that it has seen a lot of use. She points her cane over at the cage. That thing right there, that's the first thing you're going to want. A cage. Literal or metaphorical. Demons? She's looking for a way to phrase this. Demons do not function unless they understand that they have a master above them. The will of their creators demands this. It may be cruel feeling, the sort of things that demonology will demand of you to keep demons in line, but you must remember again, they are not human. And if you do not keep them in line, she just trails off.
Mm-hmm.
She goes over to a cabinet of books, and it is like literally overflowing. Several of them have kind of been shoved in haphazardly. There is a rough sorting order of the books. Let's see, where's the copy? Where's the backup? Where's the one? There we go. She pulls something out, holds it up. There is a title in Old Realm and then a subtitle in Riverspeak. You can't read the Old Realm one yet, but you can read the one in Riverspeak. It says the Abyssinic Codex. You see this book?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to memorize everything in this book if you want to be a demonologist and survive a year.
I see.
This is the Abyssinic Binding Guide. It is a very old work, let us put it that way. It has been amended too. There are many editions. This is one particular one. It is not anywhere near the canon one, or a complete one, but it is functional enough to have kept me alive this whole time. She walks over and hands it to you, and it is oddly heavy. And as you look at it, you realize why. It's not a book of parchment paper. It is a book of bound glass and metal plates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Demon book.
In this is a set of plates. Each plate is a method of taming and ordering a demon. Each plate is suitable to different kinds of demons. She opens one up. There is a picture of a beast resting in a nest. Behind it, there's 3 people in tragedy masks with stars in the sky that burn like fire that the creature does not notice. And on the opposite plate, there is a bunch of incredibly dense occult text. This is the plate of the horror. This is the method of binding a demon so that it does not realize it has even been summoned, thinks that it's still in Malpheus, and thus will be docile, until it realizes that it is not. She flips a couple of more pages. There's someone in a binding circle raising a knife to the moon in the sky as a hallway stretches out into infinity behind them. This is the Vizier. This is how you summon a demon to give you advice as your second in command. I don't need to tell you how badly that can go if this one slips. And she kind of goes through. And
Milan's going to give the look of, oh, yeah, I get that.
Does she have any originals, or are these all second or later printings?
These are all older printings. These are no originals. This is all second-hand, handed. Well, I will put it this way: the one that she is giving to Milan is all second printing copies of copies of copies. She may or may not have 1 or 2 older versions, but she's not handing that shit out for free.
Yes, where it's how you can tell an original from any of the recreations is that the originals the image is so perfectly crafted that you understand intuitively all of what it has to say without needing any supplementary writing.
Yeah, like the one that Milan is being handed has most of the book being taken up by explanatory text that explains exactly what's going on, the kinds of demons it applies to, etc. The original first stage crafting is you just look at the image and it's beamed into your brain.
I know what that is.
So she hands it to you. I hand this to you as an expression of trust and as an expression of thanks for taking care of 2 grave threats to the region. Don't make me regret this.
I say nothing and just give a very serious nod, not breaking eye contact.
Now, do you want to practice here, or do you want to be doing that on your own?
I feel I have much I need to research before I feel ready to practice.
Smart. That was a trick question. She smiles. You realize that there are more higher floors on this tower, and as you're looking at the book and all of the accoutrement around you, you wonder what the hell is up there, and then realize that's probably a question you don't want answered.
No.
Wizards.
Oh, hey, there's a cooking book mixed in with these science books.
She looks back. Oh, yeah. I like
That's
that one.
First question to ask before you summon a demon, is it edible?
Yep.
But how's it taste?
Right. I have another book to add to my morning readings.
I don't know exactly how your priestly friend feels about demons, so I would probably keep this one on the down low, unless you know that better than I do.
I've spoken with him and
Been beaten by him.
much the same. They are tools to be used and done away with.
What time is this conversation happening?
About like 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
I have a really stupid Yakuza side quest that I want to cut over to.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
I found a band in the street,
Yeah, just a practicing band.
and I want to help them fucking maximize. I want to help them find the new sound.
All right. So yeah, you've got somebody probably with a. Let's see what. You probably have somebody with a shamisen, somebody with a percussion instrument. You got a vocalist, maybe somebody with some pipes. It's a very traditional kind of setup. It is not exactly a shake things up kind of thing, but then again, it is not very common that people are looking for a new sound. But they're kind of like, I don't know, feels like we are missing something. We've kind of gone over the same songs like a million times.
Okay, well, all right, this is gonna look really weird, but so I can play music. Like, I don't know how to play an instrument, but
Oh my god, hang on.
and no, anyways, so like I figured out like a way to program different beats into it, and I'm gonna like feel around the side of my mask and look for a switch that is in there, but I'm gonna like, flip over to like a funk track or something.
This is the only one that comes out.
Just do a remix of this. It's fine.
You just walk up to them, put your finger in your mask, and then just say, "Hey, play this."
Well, that's how I activate it. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna start like trying to mess with the knobs and get rid of some of the vocalists and give them some fucking, some space to play over it.
Yeah, so you start fading instruments in and out by... It starts with trying to fiddle with your own mask a bit, and then you get frustrated, and it starts to look more like you're punching yourself in the face. Just boom, boom, boom.
I'm just fucking up a minigame right now. It's fine.
Yeah. As they kind of stare, trying to comprehend what's going on, but at the same time, like, what is this? Like, what is this music? What is this?
I'm gonna invent ska. I'm gonna help them invent ska, basically.
Roll me manipulation performance.
First era ska.
Do you refer to yourself as a rude boy?
I am the rude boy of this, yes.
I hate you so much.
Willpower that.
22 sectors tested. Fragments in one direction.
I started
Like, the
beckoning them
vocals
to
are
pick
saying
it up.
Yeah, like they're starting to actually like follow the time signature and starting to follow the logic of the music. And they're like, this is a complete disconnect from everything we've ever done. But could we play this on these instruments? And like the person on the shamisen, instead of usually doing the elegant kind of strumming or the quicker kind of picking strumming, is trying to model a different kind of like syncopated playing. The drum, like the percussion instrument player, is starting to mess with a different rhythm. They're like, you know what? What if we just experimented? What if we just did stuff until good noises came out?
You know those animations that Miracle Johnson does in Yakuza 0?
Yes.
I started doing those and just being like, yeah, come on, motherfuckers, let's play. And I start Crip walking around and clapping to the beat.
Nope. I need to go home.
And now we're playing the Yakuman Band mini game, where you try to do dance moves to the rhythm to encourage the band to do better.
Yep.
You can do this mini game to get, I don't know, like a weird currency that doesn't actually go anywhere, but you can easily get prizes.
You unlock sound tests.
Yeah,
You
can
don't
put
get
them
any
in the
money,
tab-
but you get
in
a
your
currency
cap.
that you can exchange for items.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you've basically introduced these people to the concept of just freeform, of just like, what if we just didn't do classical chamber music, and what if we just did improv jazz and just had musical genres fall out?
You like jazz?
Yeah, just fucking feel it. Let's just see what happens. And wherever they decide to go to, I start leading into as hard as possible to see what falls out.
Yeah. So like,
Now there's a street concert happening. Pretty cool, huh?
and congratulations, long term. In about 50 years or so, the entire musical genres of this entire section of the 100 Kingdoms is going to be completely fucking different because people got inspiration from a Dragon Blood to just, what if we just didn't imitate the realm's insufferably long 800 years of this is the last songs you're allowed to play, and that's it.
This is how you throw off the shackles. You just start fucking
What if we
jazz.
just said, what if Imperial Court music was boring as fuck and we just did something else?
Like, it's structured cool, but oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's officially called Shama Swing.
Good news, everyone. Shamisen Ska produces it. God bless humanity. Oh, man. Good timing on the music as always. I feel like the Brute Justice music just knows. I feel like it just knows.
Have you ever heard the Ultimate remix?
Yes,
Yeah,
I've
it's pretty
heard.
good.
It's real good.
It's-
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to expand on that, but never mind. Don't
No,
worry
I
about
was. Okay. I absolutely need to see whatever comment code found for Ska Shamisen. So I'm permitting that link.
Scaminson.
Well, that has happened.
Yeah, that sure fucking happened.
I told you I was going to do Yakuza side quest.
Yes, you did. You warned
You did.
us. Let us
And
go
I've
back.
wrapped up what I needed with Koi, so
So yeah, that would be back to the agenda of kind of Sandbox in terms of caught up. Oh, right. You did also were curious as to the next move possibly going to Swamp.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
what I was going to bring
that's
up. Is that I was going to ask Vanif if we could head towards Swamp.
let's go to Swamp.
I would.
When we get hold on, let me make sure I got the right numbers on this. I think it's 30 miles away. I'm going to do the when carried words method to ask if we may enter.
Okay. I would also bring up maybe you would want to invite Yang to see his family.
Nah,
Right,
they're
that.
fine.
I
Team
Like,
can
this
reconvene
is
for
something I
small
think you
trip.
would know in character as a thing to bring up. But you were saying, Loon?
Team can reconvene for small trip.
Yeah.
That might be the better idea.
Main parting note for Repose to leave with Steel is naturally, on a larger scale, there's a key under the mat. If some side of crisis emerges down below, feel free to step in.
Yeah. And not quite fully enough of trust of I let you run my bureaucracy yet, because clearly there's a lot of, like, it's mine. My immaculately managed systems, but there is the, prove yourself, and I might trust you with that as well.
Well, if you were ever out of the house for a prolonged period of time for some reason, Propose must
Inexplicably.
face the immense, usual level of shame of, all right, I'm going to settle down and commandeer these people and safeguard them, and I immediately have to turn around and walk away to go have adventures with my mates. Just gonna head out with the lads for a couple of months of war fighting, and then I'll be back, and then I will settle down and be responsible.
I mean, that's just Dragon Bloods. That's just universally accepted in creation is how they fucking work. Hello, I'm here. I run you now. I'll be back in about 5 years.
Just chill for a bit.
But yeah. So the group probably just reconvenes. The call is sent around explaining of what Angler and Milan figured out about the letter. The proposal of visiting Swamp is floated around, and I'm presuming everybody would be going along with that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before we go to the swamp, Yang, I want you to take a look at the letter that we received from our mutual friend, because I got a little
Again?
whiff of something on. Well, hear me out on this one. I got a little whiff of something on here that's poison being used as a masking agent, and I wanted to see if you could figure out what it is.
What do I roll for that? Medicine.
That would be medicine and perception.
I have a specialty in poison creation.
That would apply.
Does that give me anything?
That gives you 1 extra die.
Alright. Perception is... How bad is he perceiving? Oh, wait, never mind. He's great.
Yeah, you're really good at it.
11. Look at that.
You're discerning a poison. This is one of the things you are best at.
I probably have a charm for this, but I'm not going to bother looking.
Yeah, I think glancing over yours, most of them involve applying poison, so you've got a pretty good result anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you sit down, and you think, and you examine, and you think. And your brain just starts to drift to a large question mark of, hang on, this doesn't make any goddamn sense.
You ain't got DXE freezes.
A poison shouldn't be able to deodorize something. Sure, like a topical powder or something would be able to do it, but then a poison specifically, you can't really think of many things that would do that. Maybe some sort of botanical extract, maybe. But that's not what's confusing you, that's not... Because, after enough thought, it's honestly kind of trivial to be like, oh yeah, that's just kind of a standard alchemical mixture for deodorization that you can find anywhere. Anybody can make this if they knew enough. But it doesn't have much to do with poison. And the longer you stare at it, the more you feel what Angler mentioned of something here is poisonous beyond a literal poison you stick someone with. This is essential poison. This is uncomfortable. This is...
Is this... Is this void goop or something?
You don't know, and that's what's frightening you. It is
Have you tried to sense doom on this poison?
Doom sense was used on the letter, and it gave inconsistent results.
Like, of course, it's a little haunted.
Yeah.
It was stolen from ghost postage.
Well, it should be haunted with purpose.
Would you like some
This is
alchemical assistance?
the residual nature of it. You would say is that this is, if anything, this is a poison that works on metaphor.
Is old man on the roof above us right now?
Probably.
I'm gonna lean back and go like, "Hey, what's a poison that you wouldn't use to poison somebody? You're dumb as hell. You probably know this."
A poison I wouldn't use to poison somebody?
Yeah, like a poison that's not a poison, but is a
truth.
poison.
Specifically, this is only the introductory letter that is giving you these vibes.
Yeah, what I would use to poison something that is not a poison would be either a truth or lies, depending.
You know, use your goddamn stretchy arms and grab this and smell it.
Old man goes ahead and uses his goddamn stretchy arms to grab it and smells it.
It smells weird, right?
It smells like paper to old man.
I barely have a sense of smell.
Oh.
I'm very old.
Is there some sort of medium that chemists can use to explain their theories to each other?
Yang pulls out a whiteboard.
Yang, do you think you could remove the poison?
The what?
Do you think you could remove the masking agent?
Well, the masking agent has already acted. It's already reacted. The smell that was there originally is gone. The poison is what's fucking with you because you don't know if it is a physical poison that exists. That is what is getting to you. Is like, is this? It's like a metaphor that reads in your brain as a poison.
I'm gonna be honest. This is sounding more and more like you were you suddenly are able to sniff out truth and lies.
Give me that. Just give me that back. You're not. Get down here and help me fucking distill some water.
No.
Whatever.
Come
Give
up
me it
here
back.
and I'll help you
Propose is
distill
just
some water.
gonna take
You know what? Fine. I move all my fucking
very
chemistry equipment
slow,
upstairs. on the roof.
powerful, deep breath and brace to have a think about who exactly in the great order of all things natural and unnatural. Who exactly are we not supposed to discuss that would have such a peculiar aura? Of
Peculiar one
antithesis
dice done to you.
to examination and discussion. Hi, Dice. You're here now. That is an intercult. Miscellaneous.
This is sounding like what you really don't want it to be.
What if it was purple?
Anyways, there's a chemistry lab on the roof now while Repose is having a grim realization.
By the
can't
way,
you
I
purify
fill
water
up
that
a
way?
couple vials of distilled water just from using my essence for Yang.
Why do you purify water like that?
I'm
Just
wood.
crush a handful of charcoal and get most of the way there.
What kind of
Milan?
fucking scientist are you?
Milan's
Charcoal
gonna-
with a bit of sand and
No,
make
look, we're
some
gonna distill the juice from this letter.
He's
Help
not
me
a
figure that out.
scientist.
Old man's an alchemist. He's not, which is a scientist of this time, basically.
You're not a
Of olden
scientist.
times. He's
We're
not
having
a
an-
chemist.
We're
he's
having an argument about
alchemist.
chemicals and how then the proper method to distill a poison from a solid.
You're not a scientist. You're just an old man.
You're
Is there any
not
way-
cooking.
Rose is going to allow that to happen and slide over to Ankler and Milan. And at the appropriate, low, gentlemanly, we're going to sit down to the corner here and talk about the thing none of us are saying and that no one will ever admit to hearing. Just slide into that. It is time to say taboo things over here.
Mm-hmm.
One
And
moment,
just-
please. And as we get there, I'm going to use every single awareness charm I possibly can to make sure no one is listening in.
Squawk.
Very polite.
Oh, Squawk's here?
His bird's listening.
Birds is listening, but you don't feel like Birds was like, oh, I hear that there's incredibly forbidden shenanigans going. This is just a casual.
Bird is
Keeping
making
an eye
itself
on you.
known.
But if we talk low enough, Bird probably will not hear us.
Probably.
Actually, you know what? Angler's going to pick up a rock, or a pebble or what have you, lean out the window and throw it near the bird and kind of give that like pointing at his eyes, pointing at the bird's eyes and back and forth a couple times and go, "Yeah, I see you," and then go back inside.
Bird just kind of blinks and doesn't move, kind of tilts the head like the very obvious reason. Okay, if you want me to explicitly leave, I will, but like otherwise I'm not moving.
It's just give us. It's okay that you're there, but please don't come any further.
Okay, yeah, that basically is the response of just like, okay.
All right,
No,
and then I return as if nothing happened. I heard a sound. It's fine. It was a bird.
You heard a
may
sound?
recall that in recent times, when we had a chance encounter with the merchant and his wife, I spoke of the latter in terms of wandering stars, and she took this as complimentary. It was not. There are certain bodies of the heavens which are predisposed to timidity, seclusion. Agents of fate who prefer to move unnoticed, behind the threads. This sort of trickery smacks of their work.
What are you talking about?
We are letting Yang argue about chemicals.
So, like,
Yang
I-
is
Unless
not
Yang has
involved
abandoned the
for the
chemistry
player-
lab
for the
to
player.
over here.
What's the subtext here for the player?
Okay, what's
For
going
the player,
on right
sidereals.
Okay.
Which means I might actually be 100% on the fucking money.
Yes, maybe.
Yes. Probably.
Yeah, you can categorically rule out this is not an abyssal or a ghost at this point.
And
From
Repose can
your-
lay down the, alright, so are they on our side or not? Who fucking knows? It's complicated. But weird, the people who constantly write themselves out of history at every opportunity, it's hard to get a read on what the fuck they even want.
Okay.
Are they ally? Are they enemy? They're just kind of there. They prefer
With
not
that
to be
thought in
noticed, and
mind-
you prefer to not have to notice them.
With that thought in mind, Angler's going to ask for the first note we got from our mutual friend. Because we still
right.
have that, correct?
I think we still do.
Yeah, Repose knows they exist at the level of there is a blind spot in discussing the heavens, that you do not walk inside this line.
Anyone who talks about a theoretical exaltation of the five fates has something happen to them very consistently.
As Repose put it back during the encounter with Civil, where he put forward thinking that those two were sidereals, that the maidens would never be so brash as to anoint champions. That would be rude.
Yes. So you were saying before that?
I want Repose to give me every bit of information he can think about on this, because the more he tells me, the more I can build, not a case, but more of a profile of what we're looking for. And the better profile I have, the better my nose might be able to figure out who this person is, because I intentionally did not look at the first note in case the second note didn't work.
Right.
Alright, so about as useful as Repose can probably get is to just start discussing the planets themselves. Briefly go about the character of each of the fates.
Wandering Mercury, Serene Venus, Strife-bringing Mars, Secretus Jupiter, and Saturn, the bringer of endings.
Talk about various things associated with them, various colors, signs, objects.
Of note, I would
Does
say...
something about this note remind you of ladders? No, it's probably not Mercury. Because it feels fast.
You have exactly the one piece of evidence relating to possible starry-eyed bastards, and it is a color.
Purple.
And that color association with the planets would be, like, actually just extremely well-known astrological knowledge. That's Saturn.
What if it was purple?
Saturn is the planet of endings. Things end.
And if
This
anyone
includes
would
death.
be, particularly interested in aberrations relating to death and rebirth,
All things must end.
That would explain why the first letter was delivered to your people. Okay, I want to take a shot at it then.
You get a 1 die stunt from the contextual evidence.
Okay. Purple, 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 grapes, wine. Can't think of anything else purple right now. That doesn't make any sense.
Saturn.
Saturn. 7, I'll make that 8 successes with the willpower.
also as far as normal attitudes for sidereals regarding current Exalt politics, if a sidereal gets caught and is identifiably out there as one of them, then yeah, they're going to get disavowed. Sidereals are fine with being regarded as anathemic because you're not supposed to be noticed as anything if you're doing your job right, you idiot. You're out there on a mission, you're pretending to be something else, and if you break character, well, that's your problem. Anyway.
The more I smell, the more I think about it. Yang had the right of it, and as much as I hate to admit it, so did the old man. The entire
Why do
idea
you
of these...
always hate to admit it?
The entire idea of these... Worry about your alchemy. The entire idea about
This has come up more than once.
We'll talk later. The entire idea about this is a lie. It is the entire conception of a lie. I don't know if we've met this person or not, and if we have, their existence is a lie, so I wouldn't be able to place who they are. But the first word in my head every time I smell this is lies.
Purple.
Exactly. But we have an idea. And I still think we should go talk to the swamp about this.
Progress then.
Progress has been made.
Repose, is there anyone whose knowledge we should not tell this about? Absolutely, positively, beyond like obvious, don't let anyone know, but is there anyone we most certainly should not tell them? Perhaps someone with the sun and moon.
They seemed already aware of the presence of another agent, another actor, in current events.
Should we ask them then?
Repose is just kind of, quiet and vibrating faintly. And,
Milan's going to speak up.
you can take that as a negative non-response.
Milan's going to speak up and say, "Yes, I think we should speak to them."
The rest of the party can weigh in on this.
I would definitely, yes,
I'll
share
go- I'll go get
at least the
alchemy
gist of what we're talking about. If not Angler, your Repose doesn't want to talk about purple any more than we have to, or the essence and idea of purple.
It is generally poor luck to have prolonged anything relating to the Maiden of Endings. When you must invoke her, be brief, be direct.
Out of character, I'm
Like, a gag I've not yet have a chance to use, but may as well just lay here into the conversation, as it probably would have come up at some point off camera, is so, like, Repose in, like, doing funeral stuff probably does a lot of endings-related observances. And so the first time he ever had to do such early on in his career, there was some, like, prolonged action to do. Just some, big old religious ceremony. And henceforth, from that point, any further observance to Saturn is just a quick, like, smash the offering on the rock and say the usual.
Ibid.
As before. Just, again. Ditto. See previous statement.
But Newbie, you were going to bring something up?
as an out of character, I'm very unfamiliar with the setting and all that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Just as the quick summary thing, the Sidereals are the space exalts, right?
Yes.
Space, fate, heaven, manipulation
Star
of
exalts.
destiny. Specifically, the chosen of endings being talked about, they're the ones who make sure that things end on time and in the right ways, in the right places, and that they stay ended. That is their official job.
Heavenly Middle Manager, Agent Purple.
Mm-hmm.
And with Deadmans doing their things, I'm sure Purple's not too fond of them.
They are not supposed to acknowledge that the skeletons exist, and are also supposed to keep others from acknowledging the skeletons exist by destroying them. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Legitimately, Obsidian doesn't know how to weigh in on this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I abstain is a fair answer.
Obsidian has mixed emotions.
Old Man has no actual opinion on these because this is even deeper into Exalt stuff that he doesn't really care a tremendous amount, even though he probably should, given that they have a fair amount of celestial influence.
This is probably even the department that stamped the rejection letter that kept Old Man from ascending. That would have been in Purple's wheelhouse of, we got a dead man here who, would like to enter the city?
Wait, what?
Just a hermit
What?
knocking furiously on the door.
Let me in!
Let me in!
He handed us paperwork, but this is an official paper. I can't read this.
You just drew dickbutt on the paper.
God damn it.
I never would. I'd go for something much more appropriately KC Green, like stop getting mad at video games.
Stop getting mad at the game's divinity.
Well, if people are conflicted on this, would it be right if I go ask them at least for confirmation on purple.
I was going to have a conversation with Sun anyway, so I wouldn't mind doing it myself either.
Go for it.
First things first, we should go visit Swamp.
Yeah, I feel we've accomplished everything we need to.
Okay.
Interval, let's swamp up.
Swamp.
Hey, Yang, we're gonna go visit your cool family.
Oh, okay, sure.
One moment before I switch scene.
Also, old man, the reason why I continue to say it, much as I hate to admit it, is because you're trying not to be helpful and being helpful at the same time. It's conflicting, and that bothers me.
Please, you just have to think a little bit about it. I'm not trying to not be helpful. I'm trying to do nothing, and if I become helpful along the way while doing nothing, that's the correct thing to do. That's good.
But if you're being helpful, you are not.
Then I'm also
doing
doing the
nothing.
correct thing by helping.
But then you're not
It's
doing
win-win,
nothing.
you see.
If you're helping, you're not doing nothing. That's the absence of nothing.
I've had this argument before. It'll go all night.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm just more reciting that I don't actually dislike him. It's more of a why.
Old man is Georgie
It's like a
showing
series.
up at the gates
It's
of
like a
heaven
series of periods and question marks that I just
with his
continue to add
passport
more and more to
from
over
Cobra
time.
Stan.
Yes, I have a passport for our Stonska.
Do you have your passport?
Anyway, let's switch over the scene. The swamp is as it was left. You basically are able to, usually do the usual thing of laying the cloud far enough outside to not cause a panic. Make clear that they know that you're on the way, especially with the whispered, wind-carried words letting them know, hey, we're on the way. And go back to the large tree in the center of their encampment.
This is a very old copy of my token.
Yes.
Just noting that. But these leftover ones that just have moat data in them.
Mm-hmm.
So I say hello to my old friend, the large gator.
Large gator makes a kind of rumbling in the water, vibrating, claws its back into you in return. Sosi Fuyuko is back on her mushroom chair throne. First beyond the 10,000 is still watching at guard post. Drunken Waterfall is on the ground, looking kind of half asleep. Just kind of raises a hand, just kind of waves, slaps back down, goes back to his, half dozed state.
Hi, Mima. Hi, Peepa.
Is the Tiger Man still fucking dead, or did he recover?
He's not on this map, but he did recover. Yeah. Right, Lycan did recover. I just did not put him back on the map in time.
I like Propose's idea more. No, he's just dead.
Where's the fourth one? Is he just fucking dead?
Not even our fault. He just
notes.
Heart failure gets him every time.
Yeah. Fuyuko nods to the group with a warm smile. It's good to see you again. How have things been out with you?
I'm a superhero now.
She kind of blinks at that, not sure how to take that. Drunken Waterfall raises a hand. Oh yeah!
Your nephew has been quite brave.
Wait, he didn't get that from all of you? That's something he thought himself? Yeah. I thought one of you told him to do this.
No.
Oh,
are you kidding?
No.
Influence on him if I probably could.
Yes. Yeah. See?
Oh yeah, I met the lady you talked about, by the way.
You still got all your limbs too. Good job.
Yeah, she really fucking threw me into the floor. It hurt.
Yeah, no, she usually gives you the special introduction when she decides that you're worthy of teaching.
You were worthy? Seriously? You're drunk ass?
I'll have you know that there is a special state beyond drunkenness where you reach sober again, and that is when I am the most deadly man alive.
Repose
back.
is nodding profusely at this.
Yeah, old man is also nodding profusely at
But
this.
this can't be true at all.
This man speaks truth.
This is
And Celsi Fuyiko is just kind of sadly nodding, like, yes, no, he's not lying.
This is
Wow.
extremely true. It's true. Yes.
Didn't realize
This is a level
alcohol was that
beyond
great.
sobriety.
We call it drunk too.
It takes a considerable amount of effort these days with my metabolism to get there, but if I get there, oh boy, watch out. And then also schedule off like a week for recovery. I can't really do that these days.
Sorry it took so long.
Anyway,
So
right.
keep on your side, okay?
Yep, no, I know how this goes. It may my first rodeo or my first time aspirating.
Can dragon bloods choke?
Yes.
I'll fucking show you who can. He just kind of is making vague grabbing motions in the air towards you.
Well, you want to wrestle?
My mind says no, my limbs say probably, my liver says no.
They seem like prime wrestling conditions.
Well, I defer the state of the Fuyiko, am I in a good? No. Okay.
I'm gonna.
Rose is kind of
use grasping
scooting over into
rope
coach
to-
position and laying a hand on Yank's shoulder and just giving him a bit of an encouraging nudge forward. Fight your uncle.
Yeah, I use grasping rope vine to tie his drunk ass up and start spinning him around like Gay Bowser. Go into the forest. Goodbye.
Just goes sailing off into the water. The gator just kind of waddles across the land into the water, goes swimming off to catch him as he's cursing in the water.
Oh, good. The gator is gonna get him. Be safe.
You are briefly worried that he's going to drown as he sinks below water before you realize that he is breathing water and actually cursing loud enough for the air bubbles that are breaching the surface of the swamp to still carry the words.
That's incredible.
Wait, is he water aspect?
Yes.
It's
Oh.
the alcoholic. Of course he is.
They're
I thought
fire,
he was
water,
also wood.
and
Yeah.
No.
Fuyiko is wood, First Beyond is fire, Drunken Waterfall is water.
Lycan is wood, and Fuyuko is an exigent.
Right,
He's
right,
got
right, right.
water in his
Fuyuko
name.
was the exigent, Lycan was the wood.
You have obsidian in your name. That could be earth.
Look,
You should call yourself Dr. Magma. You should rebrand or something. I don't know.
Like obsidian is rock that comes from fire. From
I
magma.
understand. I'm just saying that there could be names that have different aspects in them that aren't of the aspect you think.
all right, smart guy. What does waterfall indicate if not water?
Blood.
Mountains.
Pardon?
Mountains.
That's
Hey, Uncle, do you do the do?
stupid.
First Beyond the 10,000 is literally has gone from just very ready guard stance to holding one hand in his hand like Jesus. Denad.
Oh, is it Tuesday for you too? Great, good stuff. I'm glad someone else is
Anyways,
in
I'm
the
gonna
same
jump
boat.
into the water and start swimming towards Drunken Waterfall, and we're gonna wrestle for a bit.
You are also wrestling with an abnormally large alligator at that point.
Hell yeah!
They have
Roll me dexterity dodge.
Okay, you want me to roll a 10 then?
Yes.
I'm gonna give a willpower just because I feel like showing off.
Alright. You are able to avoid getting death rolled by an alligator while trying to grapple your uncle.
This is
Ooh,
boxing
that's tough.
training.
Like, you actually see Yang and Drunken Waterfall, like, splashing in and out of the water like dolphins as they're trying to grapple each other as this alligator is chasing after them, snapping at Yang's feet, but not
We're
quite
having
able
a
to.
fucking ball right now.
Drunken Waterfall has gone from enraged, confused, alarmed yelling to now, oh, I'm gonna get you! Oh, I'm gonna get you!
Wait.
So while this is all going on, it kind of fades into the side as Fuyiko just looks back at the group. Family.
Gotta love them.
So we're
Now-
here for a thing.
I had a trust that the 6 of you were here, as I figured if it was solely a family visit, we would only be seeing young Yang, but the rest of you insinuates that there's business involved here.
Well, we've received a missive, and we were curious if you could help us with a few things attached to it. I'm going to explain rough ideas of the missive. I'm not going to go into the whole idea that we received it in inauspicious ways, and there's a certain scent to it that she, as a person of the wood aspect, might be able to help us with. Also, she's an assassin and probably understands the idea of lies and subterfuge.
Exigent of the swamp, but if anything, that's even more aligned
Right.
with poison.
I keep forgetting she's that. I'm sorry.
I fucked that up for this session. But yeah, no, she nods and holds her hand out for the letter as the mushroom leans down so she's in an arm's reach. And she picks it up and takes a look at it. She glances up over the top of the paper, and back to the paper. Quite a lot of effort went into neutralizing this. No traces of fingerprints, no traces of any sort of biological material at all. No scent, no trace, no nothing. Takes a whiff of it and kind of is actually more staring closely at the ink of individual letters. This wasn't just mere alchemy, this was some sort of essence manipulation. Magics went into the working of this letter. Of what kind I can't quite say, but there is a cloying nature to this. There is a... She kind of runs a tongue across her lips. There's a vileness to it. I can't express beyond further than that. Something about this is unsettling. Not of creation. Flicks the letter back over to Angler.
Thank you.
I know better
Obviously,
than
he's a little disappointed, but at the same time, he doesn't want to go further into it and bring her into something she might not be ready to be.
She is very evenly eyeing you. I can tell you this. Whoever made this and whoever sourced this was not using fully reagents that one would easily find in creation. There is a great deal of effort to make this seem as untraceable and inoffensive as possible, but to the extent that it tips the hand of whoever wrote this as being far beyond mortal. And perhaps some form of exigent, as myself. Perhaps some other form of empowered entity. A god, perhaps. There's something wrong with this. Something does not. There's something that I feel like I should know, but it isn't coming to me.
Precisely.
She snaps over to Repose.
And Repose is giving kind of that knowing look back of just... Yeah.
You get actually a look of blank confusion rather than a conspiratorial understanding.
Which gets the yeah, good. Mild envy at yeah.
She shakes her head. Clearly, this is something that I am better off not knowing from such a statement. If there is one thing that I could indicate. She's like visibly... Give me a read intentions actually on her.
May I also do one?
Yeah, everybody. Whoever is looking at her. Which would be probably everybody except
right
maybe Old Man and definitely Yang, as Yang is quite busy.
Crocodile.
Remember the intentions. What's re-intentions again?
Perception socialize.
Well, I'm gonna get 2 auto successes on this. That's the wrong chat. Look.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Don't worry about it.
All right, so that's 6 successes.
All right, so both you and Milan have 6. Both of you realize that this is not her straining to say something that she doesn't want to say. This is her realizing that she wants to say something, and the moment she went for it, it left. And she's trying to figure out what? 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 Like, she is pushing against a mental block that she did not expect to be there. What on earth?
Propose will actually approach, as it will kind of click in that, oh wait, yeah, as someone fused with the divinity, she may actually be more hooked into just the ways the laws of heaven work behaviorally. Yeah, that might. Yeah, just have a click in of, oh, that might be self-enforcing with her. She might just have the taboo.
That is.
Occur naturally.
I won't make. That would explain what is going on here.
Yes, a Repose will at a respectful speed approach and close to like priest being confidant distance and just kind of. He would be trained in some way to, again, feel like, all right, would we like to start discussing a taboo subject? At least put on the table that this is like confessional talk. This is shop talk.
She is trying to make words with her mouth, but eventually just has to nod.
And yeah, the dialogue isn't coming to me, but yeah, he will just further put forward the extremely bare bones that yes, as you are now nearer a goddess. There are things that even gods do not discuss in public. And we are being in the world is being above the public.
You can actually feel the gaze of the Swamp Father in the background just being very uncomfortable with this, but also like, I'm not interrupting this. Don't
this is
look
a priest
at me.
talking to a spirit representative.
I'm very loudly. Everybody else can see the Swamp Father is very loudly just not hearing this. Like, is incredibly fixated on some moss on a log right now.
Yep, just politely not paying attention. Respecting the privacy bubble that needs to be established here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just get across from that offer that perhaps if she were ever able to travel to the great city and visit the office of her benefactor, it might be less difficult to discuss the subject, but that is beyond matters for now.
She
Don't feel
nods,
bad
yeah,
about
like-
this. This is just things working as designed.
She just nods mutely at that, very unsettled by what is clearly the first time this has ever happened to her in any sort of capacity, and is trying to figure out what the hell is happening to me. But upon hearing that this is top level heaven stuff, is immediately has the face of just like, okay, don't want to actually interact with that. That's your job. Have fun.
And just move back to rejoin the group. Regardless of such matters, we are moving on to get her opinion on the coded message, right?
Yeah, you wanted to see
Something
if
we
she
were
could be
in agreement about.
Mm-hmm. So
Regardless of the such inscrutable matters, whoever that is proven at times a capable source. It's got to make a bit of a verbal show of the crime is unsolvable. We might never know who wrote that. It could have been anyone. But we can move on.
Right. So the second letter would be handed over, and she would be throwing her whole expertise into this. Reads. Her eyes start to harden. No.
No?
No, this can't be right. He wouldn't be stupid enough. Would he?
We've dealt with a lot of stupid in the past couple of months.
She glances up. This is addressed to Bismuth Maw. From the Tyrant.
Oh.
He wouldn't be stupid enough.
I can't get the dialect. This is some strange variant, but it appears to be praising him and his virtue. And yet, no. She looks visibly confused again. No, this is... It has to... Like, she pulls off a strip of bark behind her, gets a stick to just start etching down the translation as she writes fast, as she's just double checking her own mental code breaking, going faster and faster. There's no call. This is just a letter. This is just a letter. This isn't a request. This isn't a call to arms. This isn't a surreptitious. This is just poetry. Why would you?
It's a
would it-
trap.
She looks up.
They know that their letters are being intercepted, and they're using this as bait.
I am
I
prepared
feel we
to,
have done something grave to you, and we might have pulled you into something we shouldn't have.
It's gonna go ahead and roll willpower to have a think about recontextualizing everything about our meeting with Teeth.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
Oh, there are 6 successes on having a very vivid recollection of all Teeth interactions.
Are you prompting me to recontextualize for you, or do you have your ideas yourself?
I think
Well,
this is
the
Luna
thought,
asking for a summary.
A bit that,
So-
and then also I'll have my own thoughts to put forward there.
He seemed very reluctant when you met. To give a reminder, he said that his hands were tied when it came to dealing with the wild bubble. He strongly insinuated that there was an outside force that was involved in doing that. Purple would be a very likely category for suspect of that. Possibly Tyrant as well, especially with this letter. He also seemed very conflicted in general. He just seemed like he didn't quite want to like you, but did. He did not seem like the sort of person who would be actively backing an evil scheme. But he seems like the sort of person that would be tired.
And he did get upset when Repose raised the idea of... When Repose brought up Ruby Gauntlet to accuse Ruby Gauntlet of having caused mischief in Teeth's territory to distract him.
He was very firm that that was not something that ever happened. And you're pretty sure that's the case. Even thinking back, that was not the sort of lash out of a lie to cover something. That was lashing out because, no, I'm very certain he didn't do that. And as the translation is passed back to you, I would say with the 6 successes on your willpower roll combined with the translated version, this is a love letter. This isn't a call for support me in my evil schemes. This is just, I appreciate you, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me, and I appreciate your conversations, and I consider you a stalwart person to speak with.
Oh, well, alright.
Menacing.
Huh.
Ominous.
Sawa.
So they want to kiss. Big deal.
Yes.
Well,
Is it?
yes, actually.
Yes.
Yes!
Why is that a big deal?
Because the supervillain is a former Solar, and Lunars have attachments to Solars.
They were married, probably.
Their past
Abyssals
lives,
are
their
hell
past-
solars.
their past lives were probably bonded, and Tyrant found his bond, and Bismuth probably doesn't know how to handle this.
Damn.
I feel like we have an awkward conversation with Teeth coming up. If that's something we want to poke.
So your significant other is a supervillain. How do you handle that?
You say to the bear.
There is a specific thing that I would say, like,
Well,
you would all be meticulously examining every translated word, and Fuyuko would tell you that it is not an exact translation, but it is close enough for what she can tell from the old tongue. There is a very specific passage that jumps the hell out at you. I appreciate you for your moderation, and this is not exact wording. I appreciate you for your moderation, and I appreciate you for your voice of opposition against my impulse.
Yeah, I'm gonna offer to, as Repose kind of is processing that and gets, back into vibrating ominously and angrily. As the gears turn, and he goes digging deep into his brain about stuff that is still kept in the family archive, but preserved for the sake of preservation. As just kind of, we're ashamed to have inherited some knowledge about the inner workings of the Solar Dynasty, just as, like, residue from keeping other Sun-related documents around. Let's offer up some int lore, temple politics. What does Repose know about how Sun-Moon bonds work?
All right.
About how they express themselves?
There is an inexorable drive between the sun and moon in their bonds. The vaguest explanation in your texts was the excesses of the suns had to be reined in by the moon. So they, after some sort of conflict that is not in your archives, agreed to basically have their fates tied to each other. And as the sun goes, the moon follows. And the moon is, as ever in the stories of the sun, what is the actor when the sun cannot act. The specific mention in this letter of, I value you for your moderation and for your ability to stand up to, to be a voice against my own thoughts, is basically directly invoking that solar bond ideal. It is invoking the idea of, yes, I realize I have problems, but you are helping me come around and see the error of my ways, kind of thing. Or at the very least, even if I'm not changing, I genuinely value you making me stop and think.
Thanks for opposing me, my rival.
Yes, this is either someone trying to lure someone into an abusive relationship, or a truly genuine expression of, I disagree with you, but I sincerely appreciate that you are my rival.
Well, I can know which of those Repose is going to assume out of hand, but...
Oh, that's also a very fair assumption in this instance, yes. And yes, as explicitly known, and as Repose would know with that role, this is two-way. This is not a one-way compulsion. This is both of them are being fucked up in the brain by this.
After like a fair amount of time of just kind of exasperated, wordless noise and gesticulating, as like the audience gets a Repose inner monologue of all of this information, but everyone out here is just kind of getting Eventually, after some amount of that, possibly narratively enough time that Yang could be back from Gator Wrestling if he wants to be in this conversation.
Back on the mud at this
Yeah,
point in the middle.
we're walking back on the shore, laughing with the gator, having a grand old recount of our adventures.
Come back to everyone kind of awkwardly shuffling.
Staring at
Repose. Is Repose okay? It looks like he's sick.
He's doing that anger vibrations again.
Vibrating enough that there's a solid 1/4 inch on each side of his feet that has dug into the mud.
Things
I'm not
are getting
there are just
complicated, Yang.
There's just Hamon lines in the mud rippling out from Repose in all directions.
The last two times I approached him in this form, I got my ass kicked, so I've learned my lesson this time.
And finally, he will be able to emit. They are partners. He will probably, first in saying this, go to some much more specific Old Realm word that conveys they are nemesis, they are opposition, they are paired. They are in each other's orbit.
Are you sure you want to talk? In Old Realm, I'll say orbit, huh?
as night must follow day.
That was also in a kind of veiled, keep the orbit idea to yourself, sir. You don't want to start doing too much to the nice lady we're here in with.
She just translated the entire letter. She knows.
She saw
80 to
everything.
90% of this.
Also, she
I
was
was
able
more
to
talking
translate
about the
that she speaks
sidereal
old
stuff, but-
as well.
Yeah, that seems to be a self-enforcing block.
We have changed subject. Purple is no longer the topic of discussion.
Fair enough.
Well, what do we do about it?
Just another very frustrated sigh.
We're gonna make a lot of noises.
I have
Do
been
we want
waiting
to
for
go-
this.
Do we
I
want to
haven't
go
wait-
talk to a bear about their
It has
spouse?
been-
Do you really want to finish that sentence?
It has been a couple of months since Repose had a drink. Repose is now having a drink.
I have been waiting for this uncomfortable silence for weeks.
So who
All
do we
right,
call
I
to drink this
will-
better?
Obsidian finally pipes up of, there's two ways that this ends. Either A, Bear does not care for how the one they loved is now acting and is on our side, and we don't have to interfere at all. Or because we don't interfere, joins with the Abyssal, and then we have a lunar on our hands. So it is the choice of, do you want to risk inaction?
Darren,
Repose
quick
has a lot
question.
of internal barriers to not recognize that Abyssals would have anything to do with the sun. He is just assuming some sort of horrible corpse magic has been employed to seize on the
abuse
heartstrings of a lunar, rather than...
No, this is the logic probably going on in Repose is the weak point in the lunar bond is being abused by evil magic.
Dracula!
Yeah.
Yeah, this is either actually voiced these mumbles of like, either Bear and Ruby actually have feelings for each other, or Ruby doesn't and is just using these relationship to manipulate Bear. But then how does Bear feel about
This is exactly what I wanted.
Something to also put forth about the way that Repose drinks is actually, per his very moderated and temperate way of generally being, he actually doesn't drink very much by volume. He just drinks exactly enough to feel like he has an excuse to be acting less composed than usual. And then
Fair
we'll end
enough.
up putting
Teeth
away
is an
the
adult?
beverage.
Hold up, just really into the chat. Teeth is an
Yeah.
adult. Teeth can stay out of abusive relationship. Ha 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 ha!
Yeah,
No.
I will just say straight up as an adult that don't stop shit from personal
A,
experience.
A, that doesn't work in the real world. B, that doesn't work in the magic world where they're bound by contract.
Yeah.
Alright, so as the gears loosen and start spinning freely instead of their usual regimented way, Repose will give a bit of a stomp and put forth an idea. This is not our problem.
Whose problem is it then?
Theirs. And he's like gesturing vaguely. In his mind, he knows exactly what he's referring to, and it will like take exactly long enough to let everyone not understand what he's saying, and then bit of an apologetic sigh.
We need to talk to Sun.
Other lunars.
We need to talk to Sun. This has become Sun's problem.
They have whatever ways they organize themselves across the Outlands in all directions.
This was not Sun's problem before we knew the contents of the letter. This is now Sun's problem.
Hey, Darren.
Yep.
When we first met Teeth said there was another one there. Did they imply that it was another lunar, or do they never tell us who the other was?
Roll me
It's
willpower.
probably Sun.
Yeah, you don't need to. He said, "Oh, don't bother. All he does is watch."
Yeah,
Okay,
it
I
was
was
Sun.
90%
That was-
certain,
yeah,
but
probably
that's still
Sun.
one of those let's make sure moments.
At the very least, even if we need to consult Sun on this,
Mhm.
this is, for all intents and purposes, even as you put it, children of the earth, I feel as dealing with a lunar might be above our pay grade.
Oh no, that's exactly on our pay grade.
Dealing with lunars is something we do. We repel them if they ever try to approach the center and reclaim the throne that we threw them off of. As long as they remain out here on their lands among their people, carrying out their business, this is their problem.
Categorically, yes. This is
Just as
their
we should claw at each other, should any of our greater family stray from the path, it falls on their elders to enforce the moon's laws. Moon's law. There's just the one.
Yang is very lost.
valid.
There can be further explaining later. To like gradually deconfuse Yang. It will take a while though.
I do believe it's time to arrange a meeting again between our group and Sun.
Alright, time to make Yang bleed.
Alright, let's go.
We can just
That
talk to the
won't
birds.
Necessary.
I was wondering when you'd show up.
Well, buddy.
There is a Raiton up in the perches of the trees behind you. Very just now looking entirely too tired to just be a bird.
So that's where you were. I assume you heard all of that?
I heard enough. Not the whole thing, but enough to piece the rest together.
Well, I'll
The bird-
spell it out just in case. Your friend is maybe going to consort with Hell.
The bird hops down a branch, and as it goes, the arms stretch out into human limbs as the feathers fall away into hair. The legs stretch out, the head falls out, and Sun Guangyong drops onto the ground for you.
All of Animorphs.
Sick.
Friend is not a word that I would use to describe my relationship with Bismuth Boy.
Associate, then.
This is exactly what I was afraid of. He looks back up. I can tell you one thing. Bismuth Maw is a very tired old man. I don't think that he would be falling so easily for mere flattery.
Oh no, when we talked to him, it did not seem like it. But then is then, and now is now.
And now it is
Is-
time for Drunken Repose to have the other unthinkable idea to actually approach Sun.
He regards you carefully, watching you as you approach.
Each time, the tyrant has sent out one of these entreaties, hoping to ensnare another person of note into his service. He has offered them the gift, one of his master's strange beasts.
And that much I can tell you has not been accepted by Bismuth, because I would have smelt that from a mile away. I've been keeping tabs on the old bear for a very long time.
Again, propose will actually be a bit closer for this. But it is a chance to seize him in the act.
You want
To take the next of his abominations and smother it in its crib.
You want to abuse this attempt to lure out his... He's regarding you with a kind of cold expression. Not a hateful one, not a disgust, just kind of a detached cold one. Can't say that it wouldn't necessarily work, but I feel like that would have too many opportunities to backfire on you.
He can be led to believe
No.
that he has can find confidence in whatever remains of that sacred trust which Teeth once held for someone.
That's your problem right there, is you are assuming, not on the behalf of the tyrant, but on behalf of Bismuth. Bismuth is a candle that has burned out and yet has refused to acknowledge that it has. He is going on more out of a sense of inertia than anything else. The entreaties from Tyrant, I imagine one of two scenarios. They're either falling on deaf ears, or they're falling on entirely too receptive ears. Either way, I'm not seeing him rise to the bait of being a rival, nor am I seeing him rise to be a lackey. What I'm seeing in this letter, and from this proposal, and from this interaction is you can see him very visibly, carefully choosing his words. An attempt to relive something that can't be relived, as the dead cannot be brought back to life in a true sense. Two parties that want something that can't happen.
Then what we have here is a weakness in Tyrant. An attachment.
Sun glances over to Milan. Yes, that is exactly how I would phrase it. Tyrant may or may not be trying to use him so callously as to use him as a puppet, but that letter is not entirely feigned, I would guarantee you that. If there really is this bond that is being played upon, that is coming from the heart, even if a blackened one. This is a genuine appeal, I would say, from knowing what I know of Bismuth. He sighs again for a moment, thinking. The other thing that you were discussing, to not be mentioned aloud in polite company and direct statement. I've been keeping tabs on that as well as best I can, considering the nature of that topic to keep tabs on. It doesn't add up, but I think he's involved. Something is odd. He's not the sort to send letters around to you. But maybe that's, of course, a facade, as they always do. He thinks to himself again. It's very likely that it's a facade. God damn it, Bismuth. When he told me that his mouth had been silenced by heaven, I thought it was merely that he had stuck his neck out too far again, out of some latent death wish. Now I see that there's some sort of spanning plot going on. And I don't have eyes in the places that can see what is going on.
You've spoken with him.
Bismuth?
No. Sorry, I misinterpreted who you were referring to.
No. Our mutual party of interest has never stayed in one place long enough for me to have a discussion or anything else with him. Let's put it that way. I'm only aware of his presence and the after effects of his actions. They are confusing to me. I was aware of his involvement with the recently deceased Oak. Otherwise, he just seems to be... I can't tell you what. There seems to be no pattern. And I don't know if that's because he's following the whim of Jester Skyward, or if he's following his own machinations. Either way, I can tell you one thing. Purple giving someone the secret of eternal life is considerably out of character.
From what we gathered with the idea of what Purple wants, they're trying to clear the board. It's all a ploy.
That would not surprise me in the slightest, knowing how they operate. And frankly, I will tell you this. Whatever you may think of me and Sybil, we are not kicking that hornet's nest. Until we have a very clear idea of what that hornet's nest is doing, and whose side it's on, and how many of the other hornets are going to come play if we kick it. Either way, this letter not only confirms my fears with Bismuth of Tyrant trying to reach out to him, the fact that our agent has so clearly and visibly interfered ties him to them, if only through perhaps a manner of seeking their own destruction, perhaps a manner of allying with them, perhaps a manner of self-advancement. Who knows any of it? There is one last thing, now that I suppose that we're talking, that I did have a question about. What happened in the Fallen River Valley?
What specifically do you want to know?
The demon.
It was blood.
No, not the Bronze River. Not the Bronze Axe. The Fallen River. The Blood Ape.
Yeah.
Parliament.
Parliament. Well,
That's not how demons work.
Well, Repose's statement about it being a spontaneous escape that was rooted in the occult role that he made at the time. That is his professional opinion on what happened.
Yeah.
Well,
And Repose would probably tell him that.
Yes.
what I can say what happened is we made a simulacrum, an illusion, to imitate the facade of one.
Not quite.
No? Okay.
It was.
The
Well,
illusion
it
was to be a
close,
fake
but not-
elemental.
Oh, a fake. That's right. A fake elemental is what we did.
A fake elemental that was coincidentally close to a demon.
We had made a simulacrum of an elemental, fluffed up to appear more demonic.
Hey, wait a minute. I just had a thought.
That's dangerous.
Did I? Okay, so Repose has been. There's a recurring theme of Repose stomping around, like making fun of towns and their shitty ley lines and stuff, right? Can I get a map of Fallen River unburnt down and then remember where I burnt the stuff down and see if it makes a magic circle of any sort?
You could try, but Sun is about to bring up something.
Oh, yeah.
You say that it was an incidental escape from Malpheus. One of the catches for demons to come out. Let me just skip forward through this song. There we go. One of the catches for Malpheus. Blood apes only escape when a blood ape scream is made. He points to Old Man. And I wouldn't say that Old Man has ever heard a blood ape scream in his life before then. Where did that come from?
I don't follow. But someone like physically heard a scream?
Specifically, what happened was the spell that was imitating the elemental got twisted into making the noise that summoned the demon. And Sun does not know that.
Someone interfered with the spell.
Was it someone in Fallen River Valley? Hey, what about that one dude who was really cool during the negotiations?
Who?
Remember during Parliament, there was one guy who was just like sitting back and like, ah, yes, you all live in a society.
Someone can check the notes and remember his name.
I never gave his name.
Maybe he knew. Maybe he was like cool with whatever was going to happen because he rigged it. Shrug.
Sun's eyes flicker and think. Maybe. I think we're gonna have to go ask a couple of questions, look at a couple of old records, see if there were any sorcerers in town that I wasn't aware of.
Would you like some help?
I'd appreciate that if you have the time, yes.
I might not have the same context you do, but there are some people I'm sure I could dig up.
He sighs again. I meant what I said in that letter. Sybil and I are going to be helping you with this until the end, especially now that the upstairs is involved. Consider this a more formal reiteration of that statement. Until whoever or whatever is fucking around and either assisting or trying to take out Tyrant in a way that causes collateral damage is dealt with, we are on call.
Speaking of Sybil, where is she?
She's currently out near... He actually glazes out his eyes for a moment. On the road down towards the Flying River province with the rest of my bodies.
We might need to split up to search for clues. We'll have to talk about this later. By the way, he's going to be looking over at this. What is the reaction from, the other people here from all this?
We're not asking questions. The lunar just showed up that we don't know who this is, and you know this is, and we're not. This is not something where we are interrupting.
I'm waving to Sun excitedly. Hi, it's me. Remember?
Drunken Waterfall is waving along with you at this point, just like, hey, if you're a friend of my nephew, you're a friend of mine. And Sun is like pointedly ignoring everyone in the background. He is laser focused on whoever is speaking to him at a given moment.
Okay, kind of thought so.
Propose is at this point mostly disconnected from the current conversation because a lot of his mind space is now dedicated to knowing that he has an emotional knife in the heart of his enemy that he can get at and twist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we can hurt Redman a lot. A lot.
That's a conversation we're going to have later.
Yeah.
The rest of the group can see Sun eyeing Repose as he's walking away with now the cold look turns to mild disgust, but then vanishes again.
Angler's going to intentionally hold his eyes as soon as he looks back and just the look someone who has a spouse can give another person who has a spouse of we got this.
Okay.
It's a very specific look.
That's the best way I could put it.
The look of a wife guy.
Very Sybil, he instantly understands. Okay, yeah, okay. You get it. Like, of everybody in this hearth, you get it.
Is Spanner a wife guy?
No, I don't think he fits that exact qualification. He's a family person, not a wife guy.
Okay.
Wife guy is a specific
Some
kind
sort
of
of family guy.
Fuck you. Wife guy is a specific kind of shitty person.
You can be a wife guy and not be shitty.
Okay, fair enough, but I usually use it seen as a see it used as a derogative these days.
Yeah.
Also,
because it generally is, but
I'm not going to get into it too deep, but remember that Angler's marriage was a political one.
Yep.
Economic, socioeconomic, whatever you want to call it, but his was not necessarily by choice.
And actually, Repose will pick up on Sun's distaste for, fervent religious anger and just give kind of a quick look over the shoulder of, yeah, what about it?
I don't give a shit about what you think.
Yeah, what?
And-
I'm an attack dog of the heavens. I
And
smell
Guan-
blood. This is my job.
And Guan does not actually, there is the look of, I don't begrudge you for this, but I still don't. It is the
You
look
don't
of,
have to like it.
and he doesn't care that you don't it is the acceptance, but also, there is this weird mutual understanding of each other, of just, the provocation is oh, you don't like this? And he's like, I also don't care that you don't, it's that back and forth of, okay, really, I don't care.
Cat's activated.
Yeah. The cat is activated and I'm disappointed, but I realize the cat is only excited by this and doesn't care. He looks back to the rest of the group. I do have one more bit of input.
Yeah, huh?
He's thinking again, searching for exact wording. Be wary of how you speak to Bismuth about this. External pushes may be what determine which way he goes.
That is not a hornet's nest I feel ready to kick quite yet.
Understandable. I plan on speaking to him myself, but I can't rule out the idea of you going to see him yourselves. Therefore, the warning. Missile's a very good theme, but not appropriate right now.
I was gonna comment, but I was laughing pretty hard.
He looks to the rest of them. I realize that I have been maintaining the distance that you requested, but now that I am here, if there is anything that you would like to say or ask, I am willing to answer.
Angler shakes his head.
And he looks over to Milan, a shield, old man.
Yes, but now would not be the proper time.
Understood.
There are matters we need to attend to first before we can talk shop.
I see.
Propose is just standing there emitting the pleasant vibrations that are more ominous than the angry vibrations.
The vibrations of, oh, actually, I'm more afraid of you when you're happy.
I like putting things together and I like tearing them apart.
Mm-hmm.
I've already done a lot of building this month.
Sun just sighs. Well, if that will be all, I have a way to inform the rest of myself of these developments, and we can trust that we will be in touch again soon. He actually gives a full respectful bow to the lot of you, including Repose, and then turns back into a Raiton and flaps back up into the trees.
And that will receive the, menacing and energized bow back.
Mm-hmm.
There is the satisfaction in making Lunars observe etiquette towards dragons.
Mm-hmm.
After some amount of time, Repose will have cooled off and return to cold sobriety. Eventually.
Mm-hmm. And I think that note is a pretty good cliffhanger to end on, of many information bombs dropped at once.
Yep.
Give a good week of processing, thinking of how to handle this, where to go next, and then next time... Man, y'all have a lot to deal with, huh?
Crimes.
And, although by the time this shows up on YouTube, it'll be a little late, I would like to remind those watching live that my good friend Million Sandwiches is going to be having a charity marathon for gendered intelligence, a marathon, a charity that is benefiting trans people in the UK, and that'll be on his channel at twitch.tv.millionsandwiches on Saturday. You can also find him on Twitter, and I would really appreciate if you go check that out. Otherwise,
I approve of this commercial. Take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Crimes.